Chapter 411. Why did he stay? After Han Xian left the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the one-star ancient clans and other forces received the news immediately. Han Xian used to be famous in the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. He had even tried to break through to the Sage-to-Be realm, so his strength should not be underestimated. Han Xian's appearance meant that the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was determined to end this farce. Han Xian went all the way to the Juyin ancient people. On the way, he was constantly intercepted by various ancient clans. The purpose of the Xian Yuan clan and the other one-star ancient clans was not to kill him, but to recruit him. Killing a dying person would not benefit them at all, but if Han Xian was willing to betray the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, it would be a great resource for them. The various clans even tempted him with many elixirs that could prolong his life. Unfortunately, Han Xian did not care about them at all. However, because of this, his speed was slowed down. This also led to Jian Shisan, who left the Worshipping Sword clan after him, to arrive at the Juyin ancient people ahead of time. Jian Shisan arrived at the Juyin ancient people and immediately found Long Chun. "Master, I'm late." Jian Shisan's voice trembled when he saw Long Chun. Although he had been staying in the Worshipping Sword clan for a while, he was still brooding over Long Chun's death. After learning that Long Chun had returned, he finally left after many discussions with the Worshipping Sword clan. When Long Chun saw that Jian Shisan was fine, he felt relieved and remembered the Worshipping Sword clan in his heart. If the Worshipping Sword clan had not saved Jian Shisan that day, Long Chun might not have been able to save both of them at the same time. His kindness should be repaid. Ao Sangxiong also admired Jian Shisan very much. He waved his hand and took out a pot of good wine to treat everyone to a drink. However, he was interrupted by Jian Shisan's serious voice. "Master, quickly leave this place with me. The people sent by the Bright Moon Ancient Clan are definitely not people we can resist." Long Chun frowned slightly. Jian Shisan trusted him very much. Since he had said it so clearly, it must be true. Long Chun asked in a deep voice, "How many people will the Bright Moon Ancient Clan send this time?" Long Chun had the spiritual souls of many Renhuangs of the Haoyue Ancient Clan. According to his speculation, the Haoyue Ancient Clan would not be so unscrupulous. In fact, Long Chun also knew that it was not a wise choice to provoke the Bright Moon Ancient Clan with his current strength. However, he had to obtain Qin Xian's lost soul. Otherwise, he would never feel at ease. In contrast, the upper echelons of the soul-devouring wolf clan, who originally did not trust Long Chun, were full of confidence. The leaders snorted coldly and said, "By the time they break the array of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the number of Renhuangs in our clan will have multiplied. We may be able to fight them." Because of the origin mountain that Long Chun had set up, they were full of confidence. However, at this time, Jian Shisan slowly shook his head and said, "This time, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan only sent a direct descendant and 300 men of sacrifice." Hearing this, everyone was even more puzzled. If there were only 300 people with their strength, they could definitely fight. Moreover, Long Chun's injuries had begun to recover. Over the past few days, their strength had not declined. In fact, it was rapidly increasing. The leader this time is Han Xian of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The people of the Fengjin clan told me that if he were to attack, even an ordinary Ren Huang of the late stage would not be able to withstand 3 moves from him. However, Jian Shisan's next words made everyone's expression change. Jian Shisan did not wait for everyone to react and said, "The Fengjin clan said that as long as you are willing, they can accept us or leave the Waste Realm as soon as possible." The Taodai fighting soul and the Yazi fighting soul looked at each other and could not help but frown deeply. They said in a deep voice, "Han Xian is not dead yet?" When he tried to step into the Sage-to-Be realm, didn't he almost exhaust his vitality? If it is really this person, then it will be troublesome. Such a person would not leave his clan under normal circumstances. Is the Bright Moon Ancient Clan really anxious? When Long Chun saw that everyone was gradually becoming noisy, he could not help but feel a chill in his heart. an expert who was once about to step into the sage-to-be realm. Even if he failed, his strength was not comparable to any Renwa. The strength of such a person was not something they could resist. After a moment of silence, Long Chun stared at them and said, "How many origin powers did this person comprehend when he broke through the sage-to-be realm? How old was he?" The Taodai fighting soul seemed to know something about this. In fact, with Han Xian's reputation at that time, this information was not a secret. 30 origin powers, 70 years old. Long Chen's eyebrows gradually relaxed when he heard this. Then, Long Chun ordered Jian Shi-san, "You take them to the Fengjian clan. I will stay here alone. However, this clan protection formation must be strengthened before you leave. It must be enough to trap this person for at least 10 days. Everyone originally thought that Long Chun would give the order to retreat, but no one expected that he would choose to stay. Jian Shi-san and the others knew that Long Chen's attainments and formations were quite deep, but what was the point of trapping this person for 10 days? This person was not someone they could resist at all. Everyone was about to say something, but they were directly stopped by Long Chun. In the next day, Long Chun mobilized almost all the experts above the Human King realm to begin to rearrange the Juin ancient people's formation. This time, everyone was somewhat lucky. If Jian Shi-san had not informed them in advance, they would have no chance of surviving if they really faced such an expert like Han Xian. A day passed in the blink of an eye. The entire Juin ancient people's formation had cost nearly 10 million top-level spirit stones. When everyone left, they still kept persuading Long Chun. However, no one dared to disobey Long Chen's order. The 3 divine beast fighting souls could only obey. In a short period of time, the entire Juin ancient people had become an empty space. "Come out!" Long Chun, who was sitting on the mountain peak, suddenly called out in a deep voice. As his voice fell, a beautiful figure slowly walked out from behind a mountain range. This person was Yi Hailon. She was also the second person left among the Juin ancient people. Long Chun stared at Yi Hailon without saying anything. He knew that Yi Hailon was different from Qing Xian. Qing Xian obeyed his every word. In a certain aspect, she was very dependent on Long Chun. Long Chun was her everything. However, Yi Hailon was different. Yi Hailon had his own pride and also his own thoughts. He and Long Chun were more like lovers and confidants. He knew that Yi Hailon was unwilling to leave. No matter how much he said, he would not be able to change her mind. Long Chun flicked his sleeve and swept the stone beside him, motioning for Yi Hailon to sit down. Yi Hailon leisurely walked over without saying anything. In the end, he stood beside Long Chun and did not sit down. Long Chun only pointed at the mountain wall that was filled with swords and asked, "Did you cut this place?" Yi Hailon said no. Chapter 412. So what? In the face of Long Chen's bluntness, Yi Hailon stood in place. Her back was against the green mountains, and her long hair was fluttering in the wind. She was so beautiful. When Yi Hailon heard Long Chen's words, she looked into the distance. Her long skirt brushed against Long Chen's cheeks. She said faintly, "Why did you stay?" For her, Long Chun was stunned. Then he replied, "That's right. For Qing Xuan's sake, I must take back that soul for her. This time, Han Xian came here to kill me. He will definitely take back the soul of the Ren Huang of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Then he will definitely bring along Qing Xian's soul." Yi Hailon did not say much. She just nodded slightly and stood beside Long Chun. She did not ask if Long Chun would die. Was he confident? Could he survive? She did not answer why she stayed. She didn't sit on the blue stone beside Long Chun either. A faint fragrance lingered at the tip of his nose, but Long Chen's mind was in a mess. In his previous life, he did not feel the pain of Qing Xian's death and his family's death. He pursued the path of reincarnation all his life. He also regretted Yi Hailon's death for life. But now, Yi Hailon and Qing Xian were both alive and by his side, but he did not know what to do. Yi Hailon was never an ordinary woman. She had the beauty of a banished fairy, an arrogance that ordinary people could not reach, and a loneliness that no one could understand, the two of them stood and sat on the top of the mountain, motionless. It was as if time had stopped at this moment. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, a few days had passed. His clothes fell, and birds and beasts stepped on his shoulders. In addition to the Juin ancient people, the people of the Haoyue ancient clan came. Although Han Xian looked old and was surrounded by the aura of death, his bearing was extraordinary. There seemed to be a unique rhythm between his movements. Behind him were 300 members of the Bright Moon ancient clan. There were many people from the ancient clan standing diagonally behind them. There were 2-star and 3-star ancient clan members, and there were even 1-star ancient clan members. All of them had more or less interacted with Han Xian along the way. After that, they followed Han Xian because they knew that Han Xian would most likely die outside and would not return to the Bright Moon ancient clan. This was because they could feel the dense death aura on his body. Han Xian did not organize or drive them away. He wanted to do more for the Bright Moon ancient clan and let everyone see him wash away the shame of the Bright Moon ancient clan. Han Xian was once a Taoist of the previous generation. How peerless was he? He was also one of the few ancient clans who was trying to break through to the half-saint realm. If he had been able to get into the top 10 in the last competition, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Time and fate. The members of the various ancient clans sighed endlessly. They actually had a rather high opinion of Han Xian. Han Xian turned a deaf ear to everyone's words. With his hands behind his back, he slowly walked to the formation of the Juin ancient people. He did not seem to care about the empty space of the Juin ancient people. He just looked at Long Chun at the top of the mountain and said, "Bring back the soul of my clan's human sovereign. Today, I will only destroy your cultivation and send you out of the waste realm." Han Xian's words were like thunder in everyone's ears. Long Chun and Yi Hailon naturally heard clearly. The people around them also nodded and secretly praised Han Xian for his magnanimity. He had done everything he could to do this. On the top of the mountain, the leaves fell and the crows flew away. Long Chun finally stood up slowly and jumped to a mountain peak close to Han Xian. He said in a deep voice, "You should break through this formation first." Hearing Long Chun's words, Han Xian frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, "Why do you have to do this?" Seeing that Long Chun did not answer, Han Xian did not say anything more. He moved his feet and disappeared into thin air. When he reappeared, he had already stepped into the formation. Bang, bang, bang. Bolts of lightning struck him from all directions, and a long sword appeared around him in an instant. Like a spirit snake, it shattered the power of the formation in all directions. Although there were many formations, Han Xian could easily break through them. The people in all directions sighed, but they also secretly praised the ingenuity of Long Chen's formation. The 300 men of sacrifice of the Haoyue ancient clan did not make a move without Han Xian's order. "One day, 2 days, I didn't expect you to be an expert in formations. These formations do not seem strong, but they are connected so tightly." When Han Xian advanced 1,000 meters in the formation, he finally could not help but say, "But these formations can only trap me for a few days at most. What's the point?" In fact, Han Xian was not the only one who had this thought. Even the people outside who had been observing were very puzzled because Long Chun and Yi Hailon were still standing in front and did nothing else. What was the difference between this and waiting for death? Why was there a need to struggle before death? Long Chun did not answer, but he continued to control the formation to surge toward Han Xian. Sometimes the wind was like sword light, sometimes the flames were monstrous, and sometimes the thunder was rolling. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days had passed. Han Xian was still calm and said in a deep voice, "You are using these formations to test me, but what's the point of this?" Han Xian was not in a hurry. To him, this was the last thing he would do for the Haoyue ancient clan. It was not bad to take a long time. He had contributed his life to the strength of the Haoyue ancient clan all his life, and this moment was no exception. This time, Long Chun finally spoke. He stared at Han Xian and said, "Your Excellency, these angels use 8 types of sword techniques, 3 of which are holy techniques, and 6 of which are divine techniques. When the holy techniques advance to the perfection stage, they have the intention of merging. The divine techniques reflect each other and have no shortcomings. The only thing missing is a transitional sword technique. Long Chen's words made Han Xian frown for the first time. He was slightly shocked and thought that Long Chen was not weak despite his young age. Han Xian asked casually, "So what? You have 5 types of movement techniques, all of which are holy techniques. However, 3 of them have not reached the perfection stage. You have comprehended 13 types of sword techniques, but they are disorderly and modeled. You have an old illness." Long Chen did not seem to hear Han Xian's words. His voice drifted in the sky. After a short moment of confusion, the people in all directions were full of horror. In these few days, Long Chen had studied Han Xian's skills thoroughly. Hearing this, even Han Xian's expression changed. His voice sank slightly, but he still said coldly, "So what? I can let you merge the holy techniques and have a transitional sword technique. This can make your perfection stage greatly improve, and you will have no regrets. I have the will of sword techniques, which can make your perfection stage complete. I have movement techniques, which are all compatible with your perfection stage. I can help you reach the perfection stage in a short time." Long Chen's next words caused an uproar in all directions. Everyone felt that his voice was like rolling thunder that entered their minds and set off stormy waves. What did he want to do? Was what he said true? Was he, a human king, really capable of doing all this? After a short moment of shock and horror, everyone shook their heads fiercely, thinking that it was impossible to do these things. Chapter 4:13. The friendship of Gentleman Han Xian continuously passed through the array formation, but in the end, he was blocked by the endless water curtain. He looked at Long Chen with a murderous look in his eyes. "Originally, I wanted to cripple your cultivation and send you out of the wasteland. However, based on what you've said, if you can really do that, then I can't let you live," Han Xian said coldly. In reality, they were different from the onlookers. In his heart, he already believed 70% of what Long Chen said, because Long Chen's words were completely accurate. Just this point alone was enough for him to see how terrifying Long Chen was. Such a young Renhuang might not be inferior to the heaven-defying great path children of several great forces, but this was not enough to make him worry that Long Chen would threaten the Bright Moon Ancient clan. However, Long Chen's words had shaken him. If he wanted to stop Long Chen from becoming an enemy of the Bright Moon Ancient clan, he would have to kill him. Long Chen looked at Han Xian, who was already very close to him. He frowned and said, "You'll need at least 5 days to break this last formation. Why don't you sit down and have a good talk?" This time, Long Chen felt helpless. He had never thought that there would be such a person in the Bright Moon Ancient clan. He had never seen this person in his previous life. However, after thinking about it, with this person's current physical condition, he had probably died long ago in his previous life. It was normal that he had never seen him before. Han Xian waved his right hand, and strands of lava-like origin energy landed on the water screen. He began to break through the formation. He sat on a stone platform not far from the water curtain. Just as Long Chen had said, it would take at least 5 days to break through the water curtain with the magma origin power. Han Xian sat down. Long Chen said in a deep voice, "You should know that you have less than 7 days to live, and I can help you extend your life." Long Chen wanted to force Han Xian to retreat without a fight in exchange for Qin Xian's soul. Otherwise, if he were to fight against someone of Han Xian's level, his chances of winning would be less than 30%. An expert who had almost stepped into the half-saint realm was definitely not someone an ordinary Emperor realm cultivator could compare to. Han Xian stared at Long Chen with a grave expression, and he replied, "Help me extend my life. Do you know why my life force is constantly draining, and even the Alchemist Guild's divine-level alchemists are unable to do anything about it?" Knowing that the formation could not be broken in a day or two, Han Xian was still very patient. The collapse of the source space may erode life force, but it may not be impossible to recover, Long Chen said casually. While the two of them were talking, the people outside who were separated by many formations had no idea what they were talking about. Everyone was talking about it. Many people vaguely saw Han Xian sitting at the front, but many doubts arose in their hearts. Some people even began to guess that he had really been persuaded by Long Chun. After all, the conditions that Long Chun had just proposed were too tempting. If he could really do it, he might be able to persuade Han Xian. Han Xian took a deep look at Long Chun and said with a smile, "I never thought that there would be such a person in this world. Many people only know that I failed to break through, but they don't know why my life force is constantly decreasing, but you clearly know. It's a pity that since you know this, you shouldn't talk nonsense. The collapse of the source space in your body is incurable in this world, and no one can save you unless it's an expert above the saint level." Long Chun said, "I can't save the collapse of the source space, but there's one person who can save you, and that's you. As long as you reach the sage-to-be saint level, the source space will condense again." Long Chen's words stunned Han Xian, and there seemed to be a raging fire burning in the depths of his eyes. Condensing the source space was the key to stepping into the saint level. Long Chun wanted him to bypass the source space and enter the saint level first, which was the opposite of what he wanted. Such words were indeed feasible, but the difficulty was as high as the sky. Moreover, it was impossible for him to do it with his current life force. Seeing that Han Xian's expression had changed slightly, Long Chun quickly prepared to strike while the iron was hot. However, just as he was about to speak, Han Xian waved his hand and said, "Maybe you really have a way, but I won't let you go today, so you'd better not say it out loud. There's no need to ask anymore. The more you say, the more terrifying you make me feel. The more terrifying you are, the more you'll threaten my bright moon ancient clan." Long Chen's words were stuck in his throat, and he shook his head and smiled bitterly. In this world, he was not afraid of villains and enemies. This was because he had encountered too many of these two types of people in his previous life, and he had killed too many of them. What he was most afraid of was a gentleman like Han Xian. It was unfortunate to have such a person as his enemy, but it was also a great blessing. "Haha, it seems that today's battle between you and me is inevitable." Long Chun waved his hand, and 3 jars of strong liquor appeared. With a casual move, they fell into the formation. Without waiting for Han Xian to speak, Long Chun continued, "In today's battle, no matter who wins or loses, I can return the souls in my hands to you, except for Han Luo. As for the soul of Qing Xian in your hands, let her return to her body." Han Xian stared at the 3 jars of strong liquor, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He nodded slightly, opened the wine seal, and said to Long Chun, "I see that you're not an ordinary person. For the next few days, you and I will be friends. Wouldn't it be great to talk about the world?" Han Xian's face was old, but his movements were full of confidence. Long Chun sighed. In his previous life, he had a deep understanding of the Bright Moon Ancient clan, and he even had a lot of hatred against them. He had never thought that there would be such a person in the Bright Moon Ancient clan. They raised the wine and drank, and the two of them chatted like this. The world was vast, and the friendship between gentlemen was vast. Although the people outside could not see it, they could vaguely see it, and they were all puzzled. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. The formation in front of Han Xian was getting weaker and weaker, and he even admired Long Chun a little. In these 2 days, Long Chun had really treated him as a friend. Not only that, but Long Chun's words really shocked him. Whether it was cultivation, formation, alchemy, or the world's strange stories, Han Xian had dabbled in them all. His broad vision was not something that a young man could compare with. "If you didn't become an enemy of the Bright Moon Ancient clan, you and I could have become bosom friends." Han Xian showed a bitter expression and drank the wine in his hand. Long Chun did not say much. For the first time, he was full of respect for his enemy. This person's breadth of mind and temperament was somewhat similar to his elder brother, Sangxiong. In the next few days, the two of them only drank and did not talk much. Seeing that the formation was only a day and a half away from being broken, 2 teams of uninvited guests came outside the Juin ancient people. One team was led by Sangxiong, and the other team only had 2 old men who were members of the Bright Moon Ancient clan. This was the difference between Sangxiong and Han Xian. Although Sangxiong was fair and righteous, in his heart, friendship was the most important thing. Long Chun and Han Xian's divine thoughts detected the appearance of the two teams immediately. Long Chun frowned, but he did not intend to remove the power of the Juin ancient people's formation. Today, he had made up his mind to have a fair fight with Han Xian. Chapter 414. Kindred knifed before Long Chun could say anything. The two uninvited guests from the Bright Moon ancient clan shouted in a deep voice, Han Xian, do you still remember the clan master's order? The two people who had come were actually two Ren Huang elders from the Bright Moon ancient clan. Both of them had a mocking and smug look on their faces. Buzz. As their voices fell, Han Xian frowned. His divine sense suddenly shook, and an illusory soul shadow condensed from origin energy appeared outside the array. He was currently trying to break the formation and was unable to free himself. When his soul phantom saw the two of them, he immediately frowned and said in a deep voice, I have never forgotten the Patriarch's orders. What are you two doing here? Long Chun frowned slightly, but he noticed that Han Xian's face was a little gloomy. The two elders of the Bright Moon ancient clan stared at Han Xian and sneered. You deserve this. 10 years ago, you crippled my son's cultivation because he raped a few girls from a branch family. Do you still remember this? The other person also said coldly, do you still remember my elder brother? He also died at your hands back then. This scene caused the surrounding onlookers to reveal stunned expressions, full of surprise and bewilderment. Originally, they thought that the two people from the Bright Moon ancient clan had come to help. However, they did not expect that the two of them would mock and ridicule Han Xian. Hearing this, Han Xian said, I have a clear conscience in my actions. I also dare not forget the Patriarch's orders. If the two of you want to take revenge, just wait for me to settle this matter. Unfortunately, the two old men were still sneering. With a cold voice, he said, the clan has been observing your actions these days. The clan orders you to behead Long Chun today. After he finished speaking, he waved his right hand, and a wave of water slowly spread out. It was the scene inside the Bright Moon ancient clan. There was a woman and a child who was not even 5 years old, as well as 30 people of various sizes. This scene made the surrounding ascension stage cultivators widen their eyes and suck in a breath of cold air. These people are Han Xian's family, wives, and children. Why is the Bright Moon ancient clan doing this? Humph, can't you tell? I've heard of Han Xian's character from all 4 one-star ancient clans. With his character, I don't know how many people in the Bright Moon ancient clan he has offended. Originally, with his strength, if he was in the clan, no one would dare to touch him. However, the situation is different now. In the past few days, many images of him and Long Chun, who is in the formation, have been sent back to the Bright Moon ancient clan. The clan is very suspicious of him, and many people who have a grudge with him are trying to sow discord. You can imagine. Everyone shook their heads. No one had expected that these two people from the Bright Moon ancient clan would come here to threaten Han Xian. Ha ha ha! Seeing the scene in the ripples, Han Xian's eyes widened. However, he laughed arrogantly and said, Is this how the clan head thinks of me? When have I, Han Xian, done anything to bring shame to the clan? However, the two of them were still laughing coldly. They sneered and said, The two of us are only responsible for passing down the orders of the clan leader. What you do is none of our business. Today, you must kill Long Chun. Otherwise, the meaning behind this person's words was self-evident. When Long Chun saw this scene, he could not help but frown deeply and shake his head. At this moment in the Bright Moon ancient clan, it was not that the clan head did not believe Han Xian. Instead, many people wanted to take revenge before Han Xian died. As everyone had said, Han Xian's character had made too many enemies in the Bright Moon ancient clan. To them, perhaps Long Chun's life or death did not matter at all. Or perhaps, in their eyes, Han Xian had really betrayed the Bright Moon ancient clan. Long Chun did not know any of this. He only knew that Han Xian's family would not be able to survive. Han Xian looked at the ripples in the water and took a deep breath before he said, "There are layers of formations here. It is impossible to break them within a day. Only the flame origin energy can burn the formations. The formations can be broken by tomorrow midnight at the latest." However, the two of them said playfully, "The clan head has ordered that today. Long Chun must be killed." Han Xian's body was already trembling, and his eyes were gradually bloodshot. How could he not know what Long Chun was thinking? He was not a stupid person. It was just that he did not want to think about it. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. At his command, 300 men of sacrifice rushed into the formation and bombarded the water curtain continuously. Long Chun looked at Han Xian's frosty face and said, "There's only one place in this formation that can be burned by the flame origin energy. It is useless in front of many people. It will take at least one more day." Long Chen's words were not sarcastic, but there was a hint of sympathy in them. With Han Xian's character, he really should not be a member of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan was a large clan in the 10th heaven. Most of the people in this clan were arrogant, condescending, and ruthless. Seeing that Han Xian was ignoring him, Long Chun sighed deeply, feeling a sense of pity for a hero who had reached the end of his road. Long Chen's right hand quickly fell into ripples in the formation, and supreme-grade spirit stones flew out from all directions. Yi Hailon, who was beside him, saw this scene and could not help but frown. He said, "What are you doing? He wants to kill you." Long Chun remained silent and continued to move his hands. After a while, the water curtain above the formation thinned, but even so, the formation was still not broken. Long Chun looked at the supreme-grade spirit stones flying out from all directions and said in a deep voice, "You and I were going to fight, but now the formation's operating speed has reached its peak. And because of your destruction, I can't get out at this moment, but now the power of the formation has been reduced to the lowest level by me. Whether we can break this formation before tomorrow depends on God's will." Han Xian's face froze, and he bowed deeply to Long Chun. He knew that Long Chun was not lying. The formation here could keep him out, and it was enough to see how complicated it was. Over the past few days, he had broken through the array formations with brute force. Many places in the formation were forcibly broken by him. In order to prevent Long Chun from restoring the formation and delay time, he destroyed the formation's core. However, this time, Long Chun's actions were extremely benevolent. Just as Long Chun said, the addition of the 300 men of sacrifice did not have much effect on the last water curtain formation. The speed of breaking it did not increase by much, unless it was a pure fire origin that could increase the speed. However, Long Chun took away all the supreme-grade spirit stones that could be taken away. At this moment, no one knew whether Han Xian could break the chaotic formation before tomorrow. Seeing this, Ao Sanqiong's face showed a hint of anger. However, Long Chun stood high and shouted at him from afar, "Big brother, today I want to have a fair fight with Han Xian. You must not interfere." Fair fight? Ao Sanqiong heard these words and frowned deeply. In the end, he waved his hand and ordered all the purple stars of the Dark Star organization to withdraw at this moment. Perhaps in the hearts of Ao Sanqiong and Han Xian, the weight of the word fair was not low. Chapter 415. Ostracism within the clan within the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The clan master of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and many elders of high status have been sitting in the hall, watching the scene that was constantly changing. Many of the old man's trusted aides standing behind him sneered. I think Han Xian must have colluded with this person. Otherwise, why would this person order the young master of Dark Star to retreat? An old man said coldly. Just as this person finished speaking, a cold glint flashed in the eyes of a white-bearded old man beside him. He echoed, with Han Xian's strength, "Why would he need to wait so long if he wanted to kill this person? What do you mean by another day? I think that's just an excuse." The Juin ancient people were only 3-star ancient clans. How strong could their protective array be? With Han Chuan's battle prowess, he would have shattered it long ago. Clan leader, you mustn't be soft-hearted. Han Xian is a member of our Bright Moon Ancient Clan, and he knows a lot about our clan. Otherwise, the other ancient clans wouldn't have tried to rope him in. That's true. A few days ago, that brat threw out so many temptations. If they were all true, how could Han Xian not agree? All kinds of discussions filled the assembly hall of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Everyone seemed to want to kick Han Xian before he died, just as Long Chun thought. In their hearts, although Long Chun deserved to be killed, he was an insignificant character. They wanted Han Xian to die a painful death. The middle-aged man, sitting in the middle of the patriarch's seat, kept tapping the table with the fingertips of his right hand. He frowned as if he was thinking about something, but he didn't say anything. However, when he saw Long Chun remove the formation, a cold glint appeared in his eyes. He naturally knew that Han Xian's lifespan was running out. Otherwise, he would not have sent him to kill Long Chun. The relationship between Han Xian and many of the higher-ups in the clan was tense, and he was well aware of it. Therefore, he sent him out to die outside. Exchanging a dying man for the safety of the clan's upper echelons was something he was happy to see. But now, things were not as simple as he had imagined. These higher-ups all wanted to avenge Han Xian when he was about to die. They wanted him to die a painful death. In fact, this was something he didn't want to see. But now, even he was a little shaken. Did Han Xian really betray them? Was it really going to take that long to break through the 3-star ancient clan's protective array in front of Long Chun? The members of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan continued to discuss and speculate about Han Xian. The clan master of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan did not say anything. Time ticked by. The sun set in the west. According to the 2 elders of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, as long as Han Xian could not open the array to kill Long Chun before tomorrow, his family would die. Han Xian frantically bombarded the array with his power source, but the sky was about to brighten in less than 6 hours. However, the formation was still not broken. Han Xian motioned for a death warrior to replace him and bombard the formation with origin force. He himself moved and appeared outside the formation. He looked at the image on the water ripple, his eyes vaguely bloodshot. He stared at one of the elders of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and said in a deep voice, "I remember that you broke through to the human sovereign realm with 5 kinds of fire elemental rules. That is to say, your fire elemental power source is extremely strong. If you help me, you can blast open the array before tomorrow." The elder stared at Han Xian and said, "Why should I help you? We have never been friends." The people around sighed when they heard this, but they despised the Bright Moon Ancient Clan in their hearts. Everyone present had some admiration for Han Xian's character. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come to recruit him instead of not making a move. The funny thing was that the people of his clan made things difficult for him. They even suspected that he had betrayed the clan and threatened him with the lives of his family members. The person next to him sneered and said playfully, "We are all from the same clan. Why do you have to be like this?" Since he said that the array is really so difficult to break, you should help him. However, we can't help you for free. Han Xian, how about you kneel down and kowtow to us twice? Han Xian could not help but tremble all over. Long Chun stood on the top of the Juin Ancient People Mountain and observed with his divine consciousness. At this moment, he was also sighing. He had offered many benefits, but Han Xian was not moved. Now, he was being treated like this by his loyal clan. Under Long Chen's gaze, Han Xian finally knelt on the ground. He did not want to betray his clan, nor did he want to see his wife and family members die in the hands of his own clan. He stared at the rippling lines and laughed angrily. He kept shouting, "You all have underestimated me." The Bright Moon Clan Master sat on the top. When he saw this scene, he could not help but show a touch of coldness on his face. He said coldly, sent a message to the 2 of them. "Quickly help Han Xian open the array." "Clan Master, don't be fooled by him." Moreover, the 2 of them left the clan in a hurry. I'm afraid that they did not bring a voice-transmitting talisman with them. An old man sitting at the front said leisurely. The Bright Moon Clan Master took a deep look at the elder. In the end, he could only sigh and say no more. This elder was the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's sacrificial elder. He had the right to communicate with the clan in the heavenly domain. Even the Bright Moon Clan master had to give him some leeway. This sacrificial elder actually had a grudge with Han Xian. Everyone's eyes fell on the rippling water again. The elder who gave the order could not help but laugh. In the past, he did not even dare to breathe loudly in front of Han Xian. Now that he could do so, he was in a good mood. However, he did not go back on his words. He rushed straight into the array and began to bombard the array in place of the men of sacrifice. As expected, with his power of origin, the speed at which he broke through the array formation had indeed increased. The surrounding people's eyes fell on Han Xian. They all shook their heads and sighed. There were only 2 hours before dawn. The last layer of the array outside the Juin ancient people shattered. The elder withdrew and said to Han Xian, "There are only 2 hours before dawn. You'd better kill this person quickly." Bang, bang, bang. The origin energy around Han Xian surged like rivers and lakes. The elder was blasted 100 meters away and spat out a mouthful of blood. Han Xian stared at the rippling water and said in a deep voice, "I, Han Xian, have reached the end of my life. I will do one last thing for the clan. I only hope that you will treat my family well. They are also members of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan." As his voice fell, his entire body swept out like a sword leaving a bow. A long sword flew in front of him at an extremely fast speed. As he rushed out, the origin energy frantically condensed on it. The array has been broken. Today, life and death are up to fate. Han Xian shouted to Long Chun. Good. Long Chen's fighting spirit rose. The 5 elements origin energy around him also rose and fell one after another. When the surrounding people saw that Long Chun was going to fight with Han Xian, they could not help but feel relieved for Han Xian. At the same time, they also admired Long Chun. If Long Chun had not removed part of the array, Han Xian would have needed another day to break the array. Chapter 416. Bitterly disappointed Han Xian struck out with his sword, carrying a vast amount of origin power. With a single slash, the entire mountain range of the Juin ancient people was reduced to dust. The surrounding onlookers all sucked in a breath of cold air. Even the 2 elders who had been targeting Han Xian earlier couldn't help but narrow their eyes. It was clear that they were somewhat fearful of Han Xian's combat strength. Chang Chun appeared on another mountain peak with a long sword in his hand. The wound on his abdomen was healing rapidly, but there were still drops of blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. Han Xian lived up to his reputation as an expert who had once stepped into the half-life realm. The source energies around him had reached perfection, and they had even fused together. He was the strongest person Long Chun had seen on his way here. Han Xian stared at Long Chun with a look of shock in his eyes. Long Chun was just a guy who had just stepped into the early stage of the Renwang realm. How could he survive Han Xian's attack? One had to know that the gap between the two of them was close to an entire level. Holy technique, Sea Beast devours the heavens. Han Xian attacked again, and there were actually a total of 10 types of water-type origins. 10 types of water-type origins instantly solidified and turned into a giant beast in the sky, pouncing toward Long Chun. If one took a closer look, they would discover that there were countless sword lights inside. It was extremely terrifying. Technique nearing Tao. This person's swordsmanship and usage of origin energy had already reached the pinnacle. Water-type rules of nature. Disperse. Holy technique. Long Chun also used his full strength in the battle, relying on the 5 perfect origin energies of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Although he was at a disadvantage, he was not defeated. Everyone around them was already trembling with fear. No one would have thought that Long Chun could actually exchange blows with Han Xian. Moreover, his usage of the power of rules was not inferior to Han Xian's. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed, and the two of them had exchanged over 100 moves. The entire Juin ancient people's land had long since disappeared. It had been crushed by the origin energy, and the ground had sunk 100 meters deep. But Long Chun was still not defeated. However, he was not in a good state at the moment. He was able to take on every single one of Han Xian's attacks, but the gap between their realms was too great. If it wasn't for the fact that Long Chen's body had an unprecedented recovery ability, he would have already died in Han Xian's hands. Han Xian stared at Long Chen and said, "I didn't think that there would be such a talented person in this world. All of your martial arts techniques are no weaker than mine, especially your Ren Wang physique. I have never seen such a physique before." Long Chen panted heavily as he stared at Han Xian and replied, "I call it the Dragon Emperor's indestructible body." Swoosh! As Long Chen's voice fell, streaks of divine light flashed around him. Immediately, he turned into his bloodline original body and used his innate ability on Han Xian. The powerful destructive power caused the expressions of the surrounding people to change drastically, and they all retreated. No one would have thought that Long Chen still had the strength to fight back. The winds and clouds changed color, and all kinds of origin force blotted out the sky. Many saint techniques overturned the mountains and rivers, and the rivers flowed in reverse. Many people of the Bright Moon ancient clan saw this scene through the waves and could not help but be shocked by Long Chen's combat power. However, someone said coldly, "This person has just reached the Ren Huang realm a few days ago. How can he have such combat power? I think Han Xian did it deliberately." In the first battle, Long Chen slaughtered 1,000 Renhuangs of our clan. However, the real combat power of those people was not strong. Moreover, he had many people helping him. In the second battle, he used the power of the Golden Lion clan to suppress them. It is enough to show that although his combat power is strong, he is not comparable to Han Xian. Why are you saying so much? Han Xian's vitality has long been cut off. Even if he is alive, he will not live for more than a few days. Now, it is time for him to die for the clan. Just as everyone was discussing, the Elder of Sacrifice did not open his eyes. He said indifferently, "The sky is gradually brightening. Let's do it." As his voice fell, Han Xian, who was above the waves, froze in place. Long Chen's attack instantly landed on his chest. He did not resist. This was because all his eyes fell on the waves. Long Chen followed his gaze and saw that one of Han Xian's family members was directly cut in half at the waist. Seeing this scene, Long Chen was extremely helpless. He also stopped his attack. Although he admired Han Xian, he would not give up resisting in order to save his family members. Moreover, he knew that even if Han Xian won, judging from the current situation after he died, his family members would still have to die. "What are you doing? Why did you kill my family members?" Han Xian glared at them angrily. Murderous intent lingered around his body, and endless source power surged. When the two old messengers saw Han Xian like this, they could not help but feel guilty. However, when they looked at Han Xian's family members above the waves, they felt much more at ease. One of them took a step forward, summoned his courage, and shouted, "There is an order in the clan. As long as today, you will kill one person every 15 minutes until you kill Long Chen." Thump! Han Xian's eyes were blood red. He could not help but shed tears of blood. His heart was unprecedentedly cold. Puff! Puff! Han Xian spat out 2 mouthfuls of essence blood. He stared at his family members above the waves, turned around, and attacked Long Chen again. However, the sky gradually brightened. The two old messengers of the Bright Moon ancient clan looked at each other, and there was a hint of fear in their eyes. This was because at that moment, Han Xian's family members were only left with his wife and child in the waves. However, they could already see that Han Xian had even used all his strength. He had even forcefully used many secret skills. He, who was originally at the end of his life, was like a madman at that moment. He could even die at any time. However, he still could not defeat Long Chen. At that moment, Long Chen was also extremely embarrassed. His physical body was almost in tatters from the bombardment. Staring at Han Xian, who was almost crazy, Long Chen finally could not help but say, "I still have a life-saving secret skill that I have not used. With my current cultivation, I can only use 3 moves. I only have a 30% chance of killing you with this move." As soon as Long Chen's voice fell, he suddenly changed the topic and said coldly, "But do you think this clan is really worth it for you to do this?" Today, whether you live or die, your family members will die, and you will not be able to kill me within 15 minutes. These 3 moves of mine will be celestial techniques. Long Chen's words fell into Han Xian's ears like the evening drum and morning bell. At that moment, Han Xian's entire body was surrounded by the aura of death. Origin source energy was surging like a river. His condition was much better than Long Chen's. However, his eyes were filled with tears of blood, and his hair was disheveled. Long Chen knew that Han Xian was not hurt by him, but was bitterly disappointed. Puff! After a brief hesitation, on the other side of the waves, his wife was already dead, and her head was separated from her body. The 2 messengers of the bright moon ancient clan no longer had the arrogance they had just now. At that moment, their hearts were filled with fear. They never thought that things would come to this point, and that the clan's higher-ups had no intention of stopping. Chapter 417. Possessed, the clan leader of the bright moon ancient clan could only turn a blind eye to Han Xian's behavior, because the elder priest beside him never opened his eyes. Every 15 minutes, he would signal his subordinates to kill one of Han Xian's family members. When he saw that Han Xian was about to attack Long Chen again, he could no longer hold it in. He asked the elder priest in a deep voice, "Han Xian is still a member of our clan. Even though he is about to die, he is still fighting against Long Chen. If he can't kill Long Chen, it won't be too late to kill him then." The elder priest slowly opened his eyes and didn't even glance at the image of the water ripples. He only said indifferently, "Whether or not I kill Long Chen, he will die, and I want him to watch his entire family die in front of him." The surrounding people were all stunned. They didn't expect that even the elder priest would hate Han Xian so much. However, there were also a few people who stared blankly at the images transmitted by the ripples, feeling uneasy. One of them couldn't help but murmur, "With this young man's battle prowess, if he doesn't die today, I'm afraid he'll become a huge threat." That's right. I think we should let Han Xian kill Long Chen first. It won't be too late to kill his child. Many people thought that they should still carry out the original order. In their words, Han Xian had already betrayed them and was only putting on an act with Long Chen. On the other hand, the other party did not seem to have a deep enmity with Han Xian. At this moment, they had also discovered that Long Chen's battle prowess was too terrifying. They wanted to use Han Xian's child as a hostage to force him to completely kill Long Chen. Unfortunately, just as they finished speaking, the image on the water ripple underwent a tremendous change. Han Xian was lying on his back on the ground. A black light was like a black hole between his chest and abdomen, tearing apart all life within 10,000 meters of him. "Your injuries are more serious than I thought." Long Chen's draconic essence went berserk, as if he had already used a secret technique. He never thought that, just as he was about to release his immortal technique, Han Xian would actually fall to the ground first. However, Long Chen couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Immortal techniques were different from saint techniques and martial skills of any grade. Immortal techniques were true divine abilities. With his current cultivation, he could only use them 3 times. And these 3 times, he was not confident that he could kill a Renhuang who was at the peak of the Renhuang plane like Han Xian. No one would have thought that Han Xian would be defeated without a fight. The members of the various ancient clans sighed in despair. Who would have thought that Han Xian, who had been a hero all his life, would end up like this? His entire family had almost died in front of his eyes. And the instigator was the clan he had always been loyal to. Ha! Han Xian's smile was laced with tears of blood. His eyes stared at the image on the water ripple. The pool of blood in the image was filled with his family members, but now there was only a crying baby left. He knew better than anyone else. Regardless of whether Long Chen was dead or alive, his family had already embarked on the road of no return. He had originally thought that once he died, everything would come to an end, but when the 2 old messengers arrived, he knew that there were many people in his clan who would not let him and his family off. Whoosh! With a long sword in his hand, he killed the last person in the image. The image suddenly changed, and an old man appeared on it. It was the Elder of Sacrifice. The Elder of Sacrifice stared coldly at Han Xian through the image and said in a deep voice, "Do you think that I don't know that you have repeatedly requested to abolish the position of Elder of Sacrifice? However, with your cultivation, you can't even kill an early-stage Renoir. I really didn't expect that. It's good that you are dead. You can go to hell to accompany your family." The Elder of Sacrifice looked deeply at Long Chun through the ripples of the water ripple. Long Chen's eyes fell on Han Xian. He stared at Han Xian, who was on the verge of death, and his heart was filled with emotions. He knew that if the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had not acted this way, Han Xian would not have been so disheartened, and the source space in his body would not have collapsed again. Since the battle has stopped, you and I are still friends. As long as you're willing, I can save you today. Long Chen's voice was like the sound of nature as it entered Han Xian's ears under the watchful eyes of the crowd. What? Does this person know what he is talking about? Under such circumstances, he still wants to save Han Xian? Han Xian became like this because he was trying to break through to the half-saint realm. Now that he is on the verge of death, there is no way to save him. What does this person want to do? No one present believed Long Chen's words. Even the Elder of Sacrifice of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan shook his head mockingly through the water ripple image. On the contrary, Han Xian stared at Long Chun. In his mind, he was thinking about the miserable state of his family when they died. After 10 breaths of silence, Han Xian asked Long Chun, At this moment I am about to die. How can you save me?" Long Chun was as still as a bell. He stared at Han Xian with burning eyes and said in a deep voice, "You just need to tell me, do you want to live?" Han Xian stared at the Elder of Sacrifice's arrogant and sarcastic face, and a flame of anger burned in his heart like a prairie fire. He roared, save me, even if I have to live for just a moment longer. If you had promised me at the beginning, I could have helped you reach the half-saint realm and completely recovered. But now, time waits for no one. There is only one last way left. Long Chun said in a deep voice. As his voice fell, a pitch-black brilliance appeared on his right arm. Layers of brilliance coiled around his right arm like a coiled snake. Today, I will use a celestial technique to help you become a demon. Celestial technique, demon transformation, soaring into the sky. No one expected that Long Chun would really save Han Xian at this moment. A pitch-black light flew out from Long Chen's fingertip like a black hole and finally stopped above Han Xian's body. With the appearance of this object, countless pitch-black energy rushed toward Han Xian from all directions. Countless dark energy frantically deprived Han Xian of the power of the source in his body. His entire body seemed to be immersed in endless darkness. The dark energy was like thousands of tentacles. It was extremely terrifying. Many Renwangs in all directions retreated and looked at this scene in horror. A celestial technique. Everyone recalled Long Chen's words just now. They originally thought that Long Chun was just bluffing to scare Han Xian. But now he actually used a celestial technique. He used a celestial technique with the power of a Renwan. A celestial technique was a magical technique that was above the half-saint level. This level of technique was often passed down from the Tian territory. Even in the major one-star ancient clans, it was unlikely to be found. The two messengers of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Elder of Sacrifice's faces turned completely gloomy. They never thought that Long Chun could really save Han Xian. Their actions were all because they thought that Han Xian would definitely die. If Han Xian was really saved at this moment, it would cause an unimaginable loss to the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Nonsense. Even the Alchemist Guild is helpless with Han Xian's injuries. So what if he can use a celestial technique? He will definitely die. Chapter 4:18. The swordsman clan Long Chun turned a deaf ear to everyone's words. Although the demon transformation immortal technique could mobilize the origin source demonic chi in the void, Han Xian had to stop resisting if he wanted to become a real demon. For someone like Han Xian, he had to give up all his beliefs if he wanted to become a demon. Black chi filled the sky one after another, and no one dared to move. They wanted to see if Han Xian could really survive, want revenge. After a long time, Han Xian's hoarse voice came out of his mouth, and countless demonic chi began to pour into his body. Han Xian, who was on the verge of death, had a great change in his aura at this moment. His old face began to become younger at a speed visible to the naked eye. His mottled white hair also turned black. Long Chun stared at Han Xian, and a dignified look flashed in his eyes. Han Xian had become a demon. As Han Xian became a demon, the black hole-like collapsed space above his dantian was forcibly filled up. At this moment, Han Xian had stepped into the sage-to-be realm. Whoosh! Whoosh! Han Xian's mouth flashed with an unprecedented ruthlessness, and the smile on his face was frightening. His figure instantly turned into a beam of black light and disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared, the bodies of the two old messengers of the bright Moon Ancient Clan had been completely blown to pieces, and their divine souls had been swallowed by Han Xian. Bang! The expression of the elder priest in the water wave image finally changed when he saw this scene. Han Xian had really come back to life, and his cultivation had advanced a step further, reaching the sage-to-be realm. Unfortunately, the next moment, the water wave was forcibly shattered by Han Xian. At this moment, the origin source strength around Han Xian had all turned into extremely solid origin source demonic chi, which was the most obvious characteristic of a demonic cultivator. This origin source demonic chi allowed his cultivation to reach the sage-to-be realm directly, but it also changed his temperament greatly. When the people around saw Han Xian's change, they all retreated. Some of them wanted to recruit Han Xian again, but they were directly killed. After some hesitation, everyone left one after another, not daring to stay here any longer. Han Xian slowly walked to Long Chun, but finally took a deep breath and bowed down. Han Xian didn't say much. After a while, he handed the soul of Qing Xian to Long Chun. After that, his entire body was shrouded in demonic energy as he charged into the sky. Now that he had reached the half-step saint realm, he could fly in the air within the wasteland. Seeing this, Ao Tsangxiong dismissed Dark Star and walked to Long Chen's side. Yi Hailon looked at Han Xian's departing figure and said in a low voice, "I'm afraid he won't be able to return this time." Long Chen looked at the Qing Xian soul in his hand and sighed while shaking his head. At this time, the Juin ancient people had already turned into ruins. There was no point in staying here. Under Ao Tsangxiong's lead, Long Chun and Yi Hailon set off for the Swordsman clan. However, Long Chun did not intend to borrow the strength of the sword-serving clan to resist the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Instead, the sword-serving clan and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan were both one-star overlords. Moreover, the sword-serving clan was not far from the Alchemist Guild headquarters. Everyone found a flying demonic beast and set off for the sword-serving clan under the lead of Ao Tsangxiong. Long Chun, who was sitting on the back of the demonic beast, did not stop cultivating for even a moment. After the battle with Han Xian, he realized that his current cultivation was still too weak. Even if he could fight someone who was at a higher level, it was still far from enough to truly protect himself. Moreover, the people behind the Bright Moon Ancient Clan were the people of the Tianyu domain. More than 10 days flew by. During this time, Long Chun constantly inquired about the Bright Moon Ancient Clan using the information he received from Dark Star. After Han Xian returned to the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, he went on a killing spree. He slaughtered at least thousands of human sovereigns in the Half-Life realm. Moreover, he even spread many of the secrets of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, which made all the major ancient clans very happy. The last news was that Han Xian escaped with his life, and that the priest elder lost an arm. Long Chun did not see this battle, but he could imagine how tragic it was. Han Xian fought against the Bright Moon Ancient Clan by himself, and was still alive. It was really incredible. However, on second thought, he was relieved. The strength of a demonic cultivator was far superior to those of the same level. In addition, with Han Xian's understanding of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, it was not impossible for him to escape unscathed. On the other side, even though they were using flying demonic beasts. Now, everyone had just arrived outside the worshipper clan. "Who are you?" As soon as Long Chun, Sangxiong, and the others approached, they were stopped by several human sovereigns. Before the three of them could answer, they saw Jian Shisan walking over from afar and welcoming the two of them in. Seeing the respectful gazes of the people around them toward Jian Shisan, Long Chun and the others were taken aback. They did not expect Jian Shisan to have such influence here. Under the lead of Jian Shisan, everyone came to the main hall of the worshipper clan. At this moment, the main hall was already full of people. Everyone was sitting like a pine tree, as if there was a sharp sword in front of them. Seeing Long Chun walk in, everyone's eyes fell on him immediately. It's not an exaggeration to say that he's talented. After a long while, a beardless old man with sword-like eyebrows sitting in the middle of the clan leader's seat said in a deep voice. Long Chun stared at this person and replied, "You flatter me." He had some contact with the clan leader of the worshipper clan, Jin Fantian, in his previous life. In fact, Long Chun had a good impression of the worshipper clan. The people of this clan were obsessed with the sword and loved it very much. However, the actual surname of the worshipper clan was Yi, but the people of this clan preferred to use Jian as their surname. Jian Shisan once said that at least 70% of his swordsmanship cultivation came from your teachings. Is this true? Jian Fantian asked Long Chun with fiery eyes. Many of the elders of the worshipper clan also looked at him excitedly. Long Chun smiled and nodded slightly. In his mind, he was planning how to enter the sword pool of the worshipper clan. The sword altar was not a forbidden area of the worshipper clan, but a place of worship for the worshipper clan. Although the worshipper clan did not have bloodline power, it was the foundation of the waste domain. In his previous life, Long Chun did not have any interaction with the worshipper clan, but he knew this place very well. In the Battle of Infinite Wasteland in his previous life, the worshipper clan had used this sword pool to kill many sky domain experts. Although Long Chun did not know what kind of secret was in the sword pool, it was certainly extraordinary. If he could obtain some good fortune, he would have more confidence when he entered the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The origin of the Battle of Infinite Wasteland was the passage in the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan that connected to the Sky Domain. If he wanted to destroy the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, he had to go to the passage and enter the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. This was also the agreement between him and Luo Yang of the Golden Lion Clan. Thinking of this, Long Chun could not help but sigh. The tragic appearance of the ancient clans in the Battle of Infinite Wasteland was still fresh in his memory. He had to reach the Saint Realm before the Battle of Infinite Wasteland. Otherwise, his strength was far from enough to face the experts of the Sky Domain. Chapter 419. Sword Pool. Many elders of the Swordsman clan stared at Long Chun. They did not doubt Long Chun's strength. In the past few days, the battle between Long Chun and Han Xian had already spread to all the major ancient clans, and his name had long been noticed by all the major ancient clans. For a person from the northern region who was comparable to a great path disciple to be able to last so long against Han Xian with his Runhuang cultivation, this was simply a fantasy. What's more, some of the changes in Han Xian were caused by Long Chun. After a long while, someone finally couldn't bear it any longer and stepped forward to spar with Long Chun. The sword-worshipping clan could be said to be obsessed with the path of the sword. Long Chun stood in the main hall, sparring with the crowd. This discussion actually lasted for 3 days. Within 3 days, the faces of all the elders in the main hall were flushed red. They were all amazed by Long Chun. There were even a few elders who directly sat cross-legged on the ground because of Long Chun's guidance. They actually had the intention of making a breakthrough in their swordsmanship. The suspicion that he had because of Long Chun's age also disappeared. Just as everyone was getting excited, Long Chun finally took the initiative to speak. He said, "I'm quite interested in the sword pool of the sword-bestowing clan. I wonder if I could take a look?" Originally, Long Chun had already thought of many excuses to exchange for entering the sword pool, but a scene that stunned him appeared. The patriarch of the sword worship clan was slightly surprised, but he immediately agreed to Long Chen's request. The swordsman clan's magnanimity made Long Chen admire them even more. Sir, you have such attainments in the sword Tao. Entering the sword pool could be said to be the honor of my clan. If you can solve the mystery of the sword pool, it would be an extremely great fortune for my sword-worshipping clan. The patriarch of the Feng Jian clan walked out of the main hall and signaled for Long Chen to follow him. Long Chen nodded. Sword pool, Alchemist Guild headquarters, Bright Moon Ancient Clan's Forbidden Area, Golden Lion Clan. These places had to be visited once every Long Chen. If he could gain something from the sword pond, then he could save a lot of time in the Alchemist Guild headquarters. Long Chen and Jian Shusan arrived at the center of the Worshipping Sword Clan under the lead of the Worshipping Sword Clan's patriarch. In the center of the huge square in front of them was an extremely deep cave. Outside the cave was a square that spanned tens of thousands of meters. Many disciples of the Sword Worship Clan were cultivating on the square. Long Chen's eyes couldn't help but focus when he saw this scene. Under his powerful divine perception, he clearly noticed that the entire square was coiled with strands of pure sword Tao quintessence, and there were even countless strands of heptagolden tint. This is the foundation of the Worshipping Sword Clan. Below this place is the Sword Pond. The patriarch of the Worshipping Sword Clan explained to Long Chen and the others. Jian Shusan, Yi Hailon, and the others revealed curious gazes. The Worshipping Sword Clan, one of the 4 overlords of the Waste region, was based on such a simple cave. Long Chen naturally saw through their thoughts and shook his head slightly with a smile. This place is not as simple as what you see with your eyes. There are 720 celestial killing arrays above and 360 earth fiend sealing arrays below. Everyone's expression changed when they heard Long Chen's words. Many elders of the Worshipping Sword Clan became more and more curious about the dragon carriage. One of them clicked his tongue in wonder and said, "Rumor has it that you, a young man from the north of the northern region, are not only as strong as the heaven-defying Daozi, but also proficient in alchemy and formations. Now that I've seen it, it's true." Long Chen smiled slightly and was not modest. However, this place was not as simple as he said. Not only were there formations that could shake a Saint Realm expert, but there were at least 4 saints in all directions. This made Long Chen respect the Worshipping Sword Clan even more. This lineup was enough to show how much importance they attached to the sword pool. However, they directly opened it to Long Chen and the others, which showed how much trust they had. Long Chen did not hesitate and gradually approached the sword pool. Jian Shusan, Yi Hailon, Qing Xian, and the 3 war souls were all surprised and looked at the sword pool in the distance. Seeing this, the patriarch of the Worshipping Sword Clan shook his head and laughed. "If you want to take a look, you can follow. It's okay." Jian Shusan heard this and disappeared on the spot like a sword that had left the bow. He went toward the sword pool. Yi Hailon and the others followed closely behind. Seeing that everyone had walked to the edge of the sword pool, several elders of the Worshipping Sword Clan looked uneasily at the patriarch of the Worshipping Sword Clan, Jian Fantian, and said, "Is it really okay to let them enter the sword pool like this?" Jian Fantian directly waved his hand and motioned for him to stop talking. He stared at Long Chen and Jian Shusan and finally glanced at the others and replied, "We are worshipping swords, not holding them. Each of them is extremely talented. Among them, Jian Shusan and his disciple are the only sword Dao geniuses I have seen in my life. If there is an opportunity here, it is the will of heaven." Everyone nodded slightly and said no more. Long Chen, Jian Shusan, and the others entered the deep cave under the eyes of everyone in the square. A chill instantly wrapped around each of them. Long Chen couldn't help but shudder at this chill. Bang bang, when everyone landed, they had already arrived at a long and narrow tunnel. There were medium-sized caves on both sides of the tunnel. Although the caves were small, they could still accommodate several people sitting cross-legged. As they walked along the tunnel, the chill became heavier and heavier. Gradually, Many youths of the worshipping sword clan appeared in the caves on both sides of the tunnel and sat cross-legged. Jian Shisan's eyes shone brightly, and his voice was even a little excited. He said seriously, "This chill is the sharpness of the sword. The aura of confusion here is the purest source of sword Tao." Looking at the disciples of the worshipping sword clan in the caves one after another, Jian Shisan could not help but step into one of the caves and sit cross-legged. Yi Hailan and Qing Xian also seemed to feel something and stepped into the cave. On the contrary, the three mythological beast war souls and Ao Sangxiong did not take a second look. It seemed that they were not interested in this place. Under the leadership of Long Chun, the four of them continued to walk deeper into the tunnel. Gradually, there were fewer people in the caves on both sides of the tunnel. They did not know how deep the tunnel was. Seeing that they were about to reach the end, they saw several young men in their 30s. The aura of these men was calm and steady, and their sword essence was overflowing. They opened their eyes the moment they sensed Long, Chun, and the others. "Who are you? How can you enter my sword pool?" A cold-looking man shouted in a deep voice. Ao Sangxiong made a record and replied, "We came here with your clan to have a look." However, the moment Ao Sangxiong finished speaking, the man snorted coldly and said, "Just take a look and go back. This is not a place for outsiders like you to stay." Long Chun frowned slightly. Before he could speak, a beautiful woman beside him said softly, "Jian Chun, why do you have to do this? Since they can come here, they are honorable guests. Everyone, please do as you please." The Taotai War Soul and the Yazi War Soul snorted coldly and continued to walk forward behind Long Chun. After a long time, they reached the end of the tunnel. This place was a water gate. Behind the water gate was a blue lake. The lake water was so clear that they could even see the fish swimming in it. Chapter 420. To provoke and deceive Long Chun, Ao Sangxiong, and the others all had strange expressions on their faces as they looked at the rippling water gate. Tao Tai gnawed on in, or that he had dug out from somewhere with one hand, while his other hand slowly touched the water gate buzz. The moment he got close to the water door, ripples appeared and blasted him away, slamming him into the wall. The crowd ignored the Tao Tai fighting soul as they were all attracted by the ripples on the water gate. As the ripples spread out, streaks of silver-white light appeared above the water gate out of thin air. The radiance dispersed. 3 large silver words were left at the top of the water gate. "What is a sword?" The silver light flashed, and the 3 words disappeared without a trace. The Yazi fighting soul seemed to find it interesting as well. It walked in and pushed the water door open. Bang! The same scene appeared once again. The Yazi fighting soul was also sent flying. However, it landed on the Tao Tai fighting soul, which had yet to stand up. Immediately, it caused a wave of curses. What is a sword? Just like before, there were only 3 words. However, these 3 words stood there all by themselves. No one knew what they meant. Long Chun stared at the water gate thoughtfully. A moment later, a sword light shot out from his right hand. Although the sword light did not enter the water gate, 3 lonely words still appeared on the water gate. What is a sword? Ao Sangxiong and the others completely lost interest after studying it for a while. They turned around and found a cave on either side of the nearest tunnel to sit down cross-legged. Long Chun stared blankly at the water gate. Even his divine consciousness could not penetrate this place. It was as if there were countless murderous intents in front of him that could even shatter his divine consciousness. However, Long Chun was not surprised. The entire worshipping sword clan had not even opened this place, but just the aura that leaked out from this place was enough to prove just how terrifying this place was. Long Chun sat cross-legged in front of the water gate and began to meditate. From time to time, he would bombard it with a beam of sword intent or origin energy. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Apart from Jian Shisan and Yi Hailan, the rest of the people had already lost interest and left the place. The sword Tao origin and aged metal here were extremely solid, but to the 3 divine beast battle souls, it was not very tempting. After all, they were not obsessed with the sword, and their attainments in the way of the sword were not high. They were just here to watch the show. Ao Sangxiong, on the other hand, wanted to avoid arousing suspicion. After all, he was the young master Dark Star. However, after 3 days, Long Chun didn't find anything. The water gate seemed to lead to the pool, but he couldn't get close to it. From his point of view, this place was like a cave under a lake. But what was above the pool, and what was hidden in the pool, he had no idea. In the end, Jin Shursan and Yi Hailon also came to Long Chen's side. When they saw the water gate, they also tried to probe it, but in the end, they returned empty-handed. The mystery of the sword pool has been studied by my clan for generations, but we have no clue. You don't have to worry too much about it. A woman's voice was heard. Long Chun and Yi Hailon recognized the woman's voice even before they turned around. It was the person who had helped them scold the man when they entered. The woman was dressed in a purple dress and light muslin. Her face was delicate and her actions were generous. In terms of beauty, she was naturally not as beautiful as Yi Hailon, but she made people feel quite close to her. Who would have thought that in the entire sword-bearing clan, the mystery of the sword pool was only 3 words? But it was these 3 words that had stumped the sword-bearing clan for so long. I was wondering how extraordinary they were. They still have no clue. If there's nothing else, hurry up and leave this place. Before Long Chun and the others could answer, Jian Chen's voice was heard. Then, the cold-looking man followed behind the woman and walked over slowly. There was a hint of provocation at the corner of his mouth, especially when his gaze fell on Jian Shursan. There was a bit more fighting spirit and even hostility. When Jian Shursan heard this person's words, he directly snorted coldly and stood out. He said in a cold voice, "If Jian Shan wants to speak rudely again, then you and I can go to the square to determine the victor." Jian Shun sneered again and again. He seemed to be doing this deliberately. Instead of backing down, he agreed and said in a deep voice, "It was an accident that I lost to you 7 days ago. It is said that this boy is your master. Today is the right day. I will defeat you in front of him here. Then I will defeat him." Jian Chen's voice was full of provocation. It seemed that he was still brooding over his defeat to Jian Shursan. The delicate woman frowned slightly and said to the man in a deep voice, "Jian Chun, haven't you caused enough trouble? After all, they are guests of the sword-bearing clan." Jian Chun acted as if he didn't hear it. He shouted to Jian Shursan, "What? Are you afraid?" Jian Shursan looked at him coldly and replied, "Let's fight. Let's go." Jian Shursan said, and was about to return to the square with Jian Chun. However, Jian Chun suddenly attacked with his sword and forced Jian Shursan to step back. He sneered and said, "Let's fight here. Neither you nor I will use the power of origin." As soon as he finished speaking before Sword 13 could reply, he had actually slashed out a few tens of times in succession. Jian Shursan reached out with his right hand and grabbed the broken sword on his back. He went up to meet the attack. Bang! 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 However, after 3 moves, Jian Shursan hit the wall heavily and spat out a mouthful of blood. Long Chen's eyes suddenly turned cold, and he stared at Jian Chen coldly. With Jian Shursan's cultivation in sword principle, even if it was a competition of sword moves, it was impossible for him to be defeated in 3 moves. Clap, clap! Just as Long Chan was puzzled, the broken sword in Jian Shursan's hand completely shattered and turned into iron scraps all over the ground. Jian Shursan was defeated so quickly. Yi Hailon next to him was also full of doubts. Even the delicate woman from the swordsmanship clan was stunned. On the contrary, Jian Chen looked complacent and sneered loudly. "Weren't you very arrogant a few days ago? How could you be defeated so miserably today? Master, it's ridiculous that such a guy is your master. I'd like to see how many moves your master can take from me." As soon as Jian Chen's voice fell, the long sword in his hand suddenly attacked Long Chun. Long Chun snorted coldly. He didn't even take out his long sword. A sword light flew out of his hand and fell on Jian Chun. However, a strange scene appeared. The sword light actually dissipated into nothingness when it approached Jian Chun, as if it had been shattered in half. Jian Chun sneered and raised his sword to attack Long Chun. Long Chun frowned deeply. This person was indeed cheating. Seeing Jian Chun's attack, Long Chun's figure suddenly disappeared. He waved his right hand, and the long sword in his hand attacked Jian Chun's back. Buzz! At this moment, a strange scene appeared again. Long Chun's long sword actually deviated by an inch and was full of flaws in an instant. Chapter 421. The sword pool was strange. Jian Chun attacked with his long sword. Although his swordsmanship was exquisite, it was absolutely incomparable to Jian Shusan's, let alone Long Chun. Long Chun moved his feet according to his will and dodged easily. 10 moves had already been exchanged back and forth between them. Long Chun's mouth slowly revealed a sneer. He saw the problem with Jian Chun's body. It turned out to be his jade pendant. The jade pendant looked extremely ordinary and did not have any sense of spiritual power, so Long Chun did not find it strange at first. But as the two fought, a faint ripple spread out from the jade pendant. The ripple intersected and changed the trajectory of Long Chun's long sword out of thin air. This time, Long Chun did not use any sword moves. Dragon catching hand. His feet moved like a light rainbow, and his hands grabbed the jade pendant at Jian Chun's waist. Seeing this, Jian Chun's face suddenly changed, and he shouted in a deep voice, "Give the jade pendant back to me." Bang! However, without the jade pendant, he was blown away by Long Chun's sword. Jian Chun's face was filled with shock. When he had the jade pendant, Jian Shusan could not get close to him, but he still felt powerless in front of Long Chun. Without the jade pendant, he could not even take one move. Third Elder's sword-restraining jade pendant. Jian Chun, you really disgraced our clan. The woman on the side stared at the jade pendant in Long Chun's hand with a cold face. Long Chun looked at the sword-restraining jade pendant in his hand and felt a little more curious. The sword-bearing clan was worthy of being a clan that majored in swordsmanship. They actually had such a strange thing. If used properly, it would be really effective against enemies who use swordsmanship. Jian Chun's face was livid. In the end, he glared at Long Chun and turned to leave. The other woman from the sword-bearing clan took a deep look at Long Chun and also turned to leave. Jian Shusan and the others also seemed to be very surprised by the so-called sword-restraining jade pendant in Long Chun's hand. They walked over to take a look. At this moment, a sword spirit appeared on the long sword in Long Chun's hand. It swallowed the jade pendant in front of everyone and disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. What is this? Everyone was slightly shocked. This was the first time they had seen Chong Chen's sword with a sword spirit. Long Chun explained. Then he waved his right hand and grasped the sword spirit in his hand. That day, when he subdued this sword spirit in the divine mountain sword mountain, it was still vivid in his mind. What? I've already eaten it and can't spit it out. I'm helping you nurture this sword. The sword spirit looked at Long Chun's gaze and couldn't help but feel apprehensive. Obviously, he was somewhat afraid of Long Chun from the bottom of his heart. Although he had his own thoughts at this moment, he had become a sword spirit and was under Long Chun's control. Long Chun stared at the sword spirit, but his eyes fell on the water gate. He said, "As a sword spirit, you have many thoughts in the sword mountain. Do you know the answer to what is the sword above the water gate?" Everyone's eyes instantly fell on the sword spirit. Seeing that Long Chun didn't ask about the jade pendant, the sword spirit couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He looked at the water gate in front of Long Chun. "What is the sword?" The sword spirit paused and said, "I am a sword. I am a sword." Everyone's expression suddenly froze. Even Long Chun's pupils suddenly shrank. A spiritual light flashed in his right hand and blasted the sword spirit to the water gate. At this moment, a strange thing happened. The water gate, which no one could move, was actually rippling without a trace. The sword spirit appeared in the sword pool out of thin air. Sword spirit. Only the sword spirit could enter this place. Long Chun suddenly realized that the 3 words what is the sword, were the questions and also the requirements to enter this place. Xiao. Long Chun waved his right hand, and the sword spirit involuntarily flew back with a blank face. It seemed that even the sword spirit didn't know why. Long Chun sat down cross-legged and motioned for Jian Shi-san and the others to leave first. He separated a part of his spirit and lodged it in the sword spirit. The sword spirit flew towards the water gate again. This time it was the same. It directly entered the pool without any resistance. However, Long Chen's spirit was forcibly expelled. Only the power of his spirit remained in the sword spirit. Long Chen sighed. This place was really strange. It could even block the spirit. It seemed that only the sword spirit could enter this place. The ripples were like the tide. The water in the pool was no different from ordinary water. It was extremely normal. Looking back, the water gate was like the entrance to a cave on the mountain wall. Long Chen's spirit was attached to the sword spirit, but he was very puzzled. Where did this place lead to? The sword worship clan was located in the wasteland. The entrance to the sword pool was within the sword worship clan, but where was this pool located? The wasteland? Or perhaps it was the heaven domain, or perhaps it was some unknown space. He secretly thought that after returning from this life, he was a little more respectful of the wasteland. The eternal origin mountain in the crack of the forbidden area's passage. The underground palace below also contained an aura that made Long Chen's heart palpitate. It was filled with some kind of mystery. Within the pool, the sword spirit's body wasn't a physical object, so it naturally moved freely. It rushed towards the surface of the pool. Rays of spiritual light were like the tide, rippling past. Seeing that they were about to reach the surface of the lake, Long Chun and the sword spirit were forcibly blocked. It was as if the surface of the lake was an invisible barrier. Looking out through the surface of the lake, a divine light suddenly appeared. Every single one of the giant trees was tens of thousands of feet tall. Long Chun couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Seeing that it was impossible to break through the barrier, Long Chun's gaze looked towards the boundless pool. The pool stretched as far as the eye could see. Beyond 1,000 meters was the deep and serene land. Long Chun turned around and was about to walk into the distance. At this moment, the sword spirit's voice was a little excited. Go to the left. Why? Long Chun frowned and asked in a deep voice. The sword spirit replied, your spirit hasn't come in yet, so naturally you can't investigate this place. There won't be a problem if you follow me. The entire pool is filled with the sword Tao origin and heptametal intent. The source is on the left. Long Chun felt that the sword spirit's words were somewhat reasonable. Moreover, although his spirit was here at this moment, it was only a part of it. He wasn't afraid of the sword spirit playing tricks. The sword spirit charged straight towards the pool on the left. The pool was originally as clear as a mirror, but the closer it got to the left, the more turbid the water became. Even the fishes and other creatures had disappeared. Long Chun couldn't help but be a little more vigilant in his heart. However, the sword spirit's illusory face was full of excitement. After more than half an hour, Long Chun and the sword spirit's speed gradually slowed down. This was because at this moment, their surroundings were pitch black. If it weren't for the waves that still swept past from time to time, they wouldn't even know if they were still in the pool. However, at this moment, about 10,000 meters to their left, there was a human-shaped divine light flickering continuously. Things had come to this point. Chapter 422. Autumn Rain. Just as the sword spirit had said, this place was the origin of the sword principle and the Golden Age will. Long Chun was shocked. Who would have thought that the origin of the sword worship clan in the Waste region, because of the sword pool, was a skeleton and a giant purple gold sword? Long Chun was standing 100 meters away from the divine light. The sword spirit was unwilling to step forward. This skeleton was different from an ordinary person's. It was actually 4 meters tall, and its entire body emitted a divine light. His right hand held a purple gold greatsword, which was covered in cracks like a spiderweb. It looked as if it would turn into iron powder if it moved. However, it was this sword that emitted an aura that filled the entire pool with the origin of the way of the sword. The will of gung metal also came from this sword. Simply put, this sword was the foundation of the sword pool. It was also this sword that created a one-star ancient clan in the Waste region. This sword was its grade. Long Chun was only a thought, relying on the sword spirit to come here. But now he felt his mouth and lips dry. This terrifying sword was definitely not something from this era. It could only be an item from the primordial age, or even the ancient age. In his previous life, he was the ruler of the dragon region. In order to find a way to reverse reincarnation, he had never heard of such a terrifying sword in the 10 Directions sky domain. We should leave quickly. This place makes my soul tremble. The sword spirit was trembling, and there was even a hint of collapse. Buzz. At this moment, a woman's divine soul appeared on the giant purple gold sword. However, this woman was completely naked. She was 3 meters tall, and there were 6 pairs of wings on the back of her divine soul. Her eyes suddenly opened. Long Chun and the sword spirit felt their bodies tremble, and the water around them seemed to stop. Long Chun could even feel the sword spirit's fear. He wanted to retreat, but he could not move at all. Long Chun smiled bitterly. He thought to himself that he might have to pay with his sword spirit this time. Sword spirit, in human thoughts, you are not qualified. The woman who appeared from the purple gold sword said coldly. Bang, bang, bang. Waves of water turned into Golden Age will and attacked Long Chun. At the same time, countless sword principle rolled in from all directions, trying to tear Long Chun and the sword spirit apart. Seeing this, the sword spirit screamed, "Why did I come here?" However, 10 breaths later, Long Chun's divine soul still existed. The will of Gingjin and the origin of sword Dao that filled the sky actually stopped an inch in front of them. Through the power of origin, Long Chun could vaguely see another soul phantom appear beside the woman. However, this illusory figure was extremely weak. Only a head was left, and even this head was extremely illusory, as if it would disappear at any moment. However, it was this head that made Long Chun feel a bone-chilling coldness. The sense of danger that came from it far surpassed that of the woman beside it. Who were these two? Did they come from a space above the pool? Long Chun's heart was filled with questions. Although this man only had one head, Long Chun could still see the disdainful aura in his eyes. Sword spirit and human? There is a sword spirit here, but it is a human, the man said calmly. Yu, leave with them, the man said. He waved his hand, and the purple gold sword turned into powder. The woman's sword spirit actually fell towards Long Chun, just like that. It wrapped around the sword spirit that Long Chun was attached to. No, I want to stay here with you. The woman on the sword spirit cried out in a shrill voice. However, the man's head did not react at all. It only said indifferently, "It's a pity that I have left behind so many inheritances, but in the end, I still have to sleep here. My soul is about to dissipate, so why do you still stay here? Leave with him and help me find my successor. Bring him here." Swoosh. As soon as the man finished speaking, he disappeared. Then, Long Chun and the sword spirit felt as if they were hit by a huge water current. They felt dizzy and rushed back. Puff. When Long Chun recovered, he was back in the sword pool passageway. In front of him was the water gate that led to the sword pool. The sword spirit in front of him had disappeared. Long Chun moved his right hand and held the sword in his hand. Then, he immersed his divine thought into it. But he could not feel the presence of the sword spirit. Just as Long Chun was puzzled, he realized that he could not pull the sword out. Bang, bang, bang. Long Chun moved his right hand and hit the water gate again. Ripples flashed, and 3 words appeared. What is a sword? Long Chun frowned. With a strong divine thought, he knew that this was not an illusion. Long Chun bowed slightly to the water gate, then got up and left. As soon as he came out of the passageway, Jian Shi-san and the others were waiting there. The Taodai fighting soul was the most curious. It came up to Long Chun and asked if he wanted to enter the sword pool. Jian Shi-san did not tell them. Long Chun thought of the strange things in the sword pool and shook his head. You and your subordinates stay in the sword-serving clan to recuperate. The three of you and Big Brother will accompany me to the Alchemist Guild headquarters in a few days. Long Chun did not want to talk about the sword pool and ordered everyone. The three mythical beast fighting souls bowed and accepted the order. Ao Tsangxiong and Jian San did not refuse to go with Long Chun to the Alchemist Guild headquarters. On the contrary, Yi Hailan and Qing Xian frowned. Long Chun was absent-minded because of the sword pool. After telling everyone to prepare to leave, he returned to his room. After studying the long sword in his hand for a while, he still had no clue. The trip to the sword pool did not seem to improve his cultivation at all. Instead, it made him unable to use the long sword in his hand. In this way, the trip to the Alchemist Guild headquarters was imperative. On the one hand, he had promised Lu Yi that he would visit her. On the other hand, he continued to refine elixirs to improve his cultivation. As his strength increased, he needed elixirs if he wanted to improve his cultivation at the early stage of the Human Emperor realm. However, just as Long Chun was immersed in studying the spirit herbs he was looking for and what kind of pills he was going to refine, there was a knock on the door. "Sir, can you come out for a chat? Can you return my disciple's sword-suppressing jade pendant?" An old man's voice came from outside the door. Long Chun frowned slightly. The sword-suppressing jade pendant had been swallowed by the sword spirit. He could not get it all. He pushed the door open and saw an elder of the sword-serving clan standing outside with a smile. Chapter 423. One who receives. The worshipping sword clan was still calm. Everyone subconsciously thought that Long Chun had not entered the sword pond. In fact, this was indeed the case. Only the sword spirit could enter the sword pond, but there was no second sword spirit in the entire desolate domain. Unfortunately, the sword in Long Chen's hand couldn't be pulled out at all. As for the sword spirit, it seemed to have disappeared. At this time, the third elder of the worshipping sword clan came to ask for the sword-restraining jade pendant, which made Long Chen feel a little confused. The third elder looked at Long Chun and said in a deep voice, "The sword-restraining jade pendant is a rare item of the worshipping sword clan. Your Excellency, please return it." Long Chun shook his head slightly and replied, "Third elder, you misunderstand. It's not that I don't intend to return the sword-restraining jade pendant, but it has been destroyed." The worshipping sword clan was polite to them and even let them stay in the worshipping sword clan despite the prestige of the Bright Moon Ancient clan. Although Jian Shun was in the wrong first, Long Chun did not take it to heart. A look of disdain flashed across the third elder's eyes. He stared at Long Chun and said, "If your Excellency likes it, just take it. Why make such a lousy excuse?" The third elder shouted coldly with a look of disdain on his face, then turned and left. At this moment, Sword 13 was walking over from afar, and when he saw the third elder's departing figure, he immediately grunted coldly and said, "At that time, when I was brought back here by the Sword Worship clan, he made things difficult for me at every turn and even made Jian Shen fight me. Unfortunately, Jian Shen lost miserably in my hands. The sword-restraining jade pendant must have been given to Jian Shen by him to take revenge on me. Now, he has the nerve to use it to bury Master." Jian San was very angry, but Long Chun did not care. He waved his hand and said, "The patriarch of the worshipping sword clan has been kind to you. Moreover, I can see that the patriarch of the worshipping sword clan admires you very much. You should stay in the clan for a while to avoid any more mishaps," Long Chun said to Jian San. Jian San nodded. In fact, he had thought of this as well. On the other hand, he also felt his cultivation loosening after entering the sword pool. Therefore, he specially came to Long Chun, wanting to stay with the sword-bearing clan. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Long Chun repeatedly instructed the 3 divine beast battle souls and Jian Shursen not to have any conflicts with the Feng Jian clan. Then, he took Yi Hailan and Qing Xian, accompanied by Ao Tsangxiong, and set off for the Alchemist Association headquarters. "Everyone, please wait." Just as the few of them were about to set off, they were stopped by several elders of the sword-bearing clan. The person in the lead was Jian Qin's master, the third elder of the sword worship clan. The third elder said in a deep voice, "Our clan has always been on good terms with the Alchemist Association. This time, this old man just happened to bring these young disciples to see the world. Would you like to travel together?" Long Chun frowned suddenly. The third elder was angry with them because of Jian Qin's matter, but this time, he took the initiative to ask to travel together. He was afraid that the journey would not be peaceful. However, at this moment, Long Chun could not refuse, so he nodded and agreed. Everyone rode on the flying demonic beasts of the sword-bearing clan and headed straight for the Alchemist Association. After more than 10 days, a huge white jade ivory tower appeared in front of everyone's eyes, tens of thousands of meters away. The white jade ivory tower had layers upon layers, and there were a total of 81 floors. Behind the tower, there were a few rounds of ethereal fire burning in the sky, which was inexplicably magnificent. Around the white jade ivory tower, there were 9 mountains. On each mountain, there were huge cauldron carvings, and each one was different. It was very spectacular. Yi Hailon and Qing Xian were here for the first time, and they were a little dazed by the scenery. They stood on the left and right of Long Chun, which attracted many of the sword-bearing clan's disciples behind the third elder, who looked envious, especially when they looked at Yi Hailon. Their eyes were filled with amazement. While everyone was sighing, they approached the 9 huge cauldron mountains. The demonic beasts under everyone's feet suddenly whimpered and fell, not daring to move an inch further. The third elder of the sword-bearing clan seemed to be used to such a scene, and he directly led everyone to walk towards the white jade ivory tower. From time to time, he would turn back to stare at Long Chun, and a playful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Long Chun acted as if he did not see any of this, and he casually walked on the main road with a few people. Not long after, on one of the huge cauldron mountains, several people with the Alchemist Association badge on their chests rode on long-necked, 4-winged flying demonic beasts. These demonic beasts were thin and long, but they were covered in scales, and they emitted a cold aura all over, obviously of high rank. Long Chin's divine thought clearly sensed that there were countless of such demonic beasts in these 9 huge mountains. This was also the reason why the sword-bearing clan's flying demonic beasts did not dare to set foot on this place. He walked to the front of the few people, bowed, and said, "The president already knows that you are coming, and he asked me to specially come and welcome you to the ivory tower for a chat." "Everyone, please." The third elder of the sword-bearing clan, who was leading the group, was startled, but he immediately showed an arrogant expression and replied, "The president is too polite, and he actually asked everyone to personally come and welcome us. I really don't dare to accept this." As he spoke, he stepped onto the demonic beasts under the Alchemist Association's feet. Long Chun and the others naturally followed closely behind. However, just as they were about to step onto the demonic beast's back, the third elder berated them. "I have something to discuss with the president. You'd better walk over by yourselves." Jian Qin's eyes immediately revealed a playful look. Walking from this place to the ivory tower did not seem far, but in fact, it would take some time. Ao Sangqiong frowned and was about to step forward, but he was stopped by Long Chun, who said, "This place is not far from the ivory tower. We can just walk over." Ao Sangqiong coldly snorted, too lazy to argue with this person. When the Alchemist Association's receptionist saw this scene, they were obviously a little impatient and said, "The president is waiting for you. We can't stay here any longer." After speaking, the two of them led the third elder, Jian Chun, and the others to fly towards the ivory tower. Jian Chun looked at the deflated appearance of Long Chun and the others and could not help but laugh at the third elder. "Master, why did the president of the Alchemist Association personally give the order to receive us? In the past, only the patriarch of our clan received this treatment." "I don't know either. There must be something. When a matter is settled, we'll properly teach this brat a lesson." The third elder seemed to have a very bad impression of Long Chun. Hearing his words, Jianshun could not help but sneer. These past few days, because he lost to Jian San and Long Chun, his reputation in the clan had hit rock bottom, causing the third elder to be implicated as well. This enmity must be avenged. The receptionists on the flying demonic beast stared at the disciples of the sword worship clan, feeling very puzzled. They did not understand why the president personally ordered them to receive them as soon as they stepped into this place. The receptionist directly led the sword worship clan's Jianshun and the others to the entrance of the ivory tower. Chapter 424. The Beautiful President. The receptionists looked at each other in dismay after being yelled at. They did not know why. The third elder of the sword worship clan was also a little confused. However, when he saw the middle-aged man walk over, he hurriedly took a step forward and bowed. "Greetings, Elder Fong. May I know why the president has personally summoned me?" Elder Fong's beard trembled. His red face seemed rather dignified. He stared at the third elder of the swordsman clan and snorted coldly. "When did the president summon you?" "You were captured by the formation as soon as you entered this place." "The president did not summon the worshipper clan. He summoned the few people you chased away." Elder Fong was in a bad mood. His words were merciless. The receptionists were also dumbfounded. They never would have thought that the core of the reception this time would actually be a few other young people. They subconsciously thought that it was the sword-worshipping clan's people who were receiving them. The people who were receiving them glared fiercely at the third elder. The third elder's face immediately flushed red, and his complexion turned slightly green. He felt extremely embarrassed and lost all face in front of the clansmen behind him. "Why are you still standing there? Get over there and bring them back. The president will scold me later. You can stay in the Nine Pinnacles mountain and feed the beast for the rest of your lives." The middle-aged man shouted. The receptionists glared fiercely at the sword-bearing clan, then hurriedly urged their beasts to leave. A short while later, Long Chun, Sangxiong, and the other three arrived beside them. The few of them were all stunned. They had just brought a group of people away. Now, they had returned and brought them back. The moment Elder Fong saw Long Chun, his gloomy and angry expression disappeared without a trace. He walked over to Long Chun with a kind expression and cupped his fists. "You must be Long Chun. The president has been waiting for you for a long time. I apologize for offending you earlier." It's okay. Long Chun realized that the group was here to bring him back. The third elder's face turned purple. Jian Chun, who was behind him, also felt ashamed. Elder Fong, who had just spoken to them angrily, was actually so friendly to Long Chun. Even the head of the Alchemist Guild had to meet him personally. Seeing Elder Fong leading Long Chun and the others into the ivory tower and walking up the stairs to the second floor, the receptionist snorted coldly and glared at the members of the sword-bearing clan before turning to leave. "I believe the guild leader is looking for this person. There's no need to make a fuss. I'll bring you into the tower to take a look." Jian Yuntian, the third elder of the worshipper clan, said grimly. Everyone could see that his expression was not good. Although they thought it was funny, they did not dare to show it on their faces. When several disciples of the swordsman clan were freely strolling around the tower, Jianshin walked in front of Jian Yuntian and said, "Master, that Long Chun wouldn't be related to the Alchemist Guild's president, right? In that case, we'd better not make things difficult for him." The Alchemist Guild was extremely powerful. The Pill Pagoda was spread throughout the ancient desolate land and many other unrated places. Even though the four great one-star ancient clans were the overlords of the desolate region, no one dared to not give face to the Alchemist Guild. On the surface, the Alchemist Guild had always been neutral. They followed the creed of "don't offend others if you don't offend me." They were better than the experts of the ancient clans who were above the human sovereign realm. However, the Darkstar organization was the opposite. As long as they could afford to pay, there was no one they could not offend in their eyes. Although the Swordsman clan was powerful, they were still afraid of the Alchemist Guild. Jin Yuntian listened to Jian Shen's words, and his face turned gloomy. After a while, he said grimly, "Originally, I just wanted to teach this person a lesson. Now, it seems that I can't just let this matter go." Jian Yuntian's voice was extremely cold, and there was a hint of killing intent in his words. On the other side, at the highest floor of the ivory tower, Long Chun and Ao Sangxiong stood there in shock. Long Chen's eyes were filled with disbelief, because right in front of them, Elder Fong was respectfully bowing to a person. This person was the current president of the Alchemist Guild. However, this person was a woman. She was a graceful woman who was wearing a light purple cheongsam. Her height was almost the same as Long Chen's. The woman seemed to be in her 30s or 40s. Her appearance was not inferior to Yi Halen's, but she was more charming. Her pair of red phoenix eyes were captivating. Her snowy white movements under the cheongsam were even more captivating. Even Ao Sangxiong, who was a gentleman, could not help but take a few glances at her subconsciously. When the woman saw the shocked expressions on Long Chun and the others' faces, she immediately covered her mouth and giggled. She laughed so hard that her body trembled as she said, "Did you all think that the Alchemist Guild's president should be a 100-year-old old man or a tall and sturdy man?" When the others heard this, although they did not answer, they all had the same thought in their hearts. Long Chen could not help but laugh. He did not expect the president of the Alchemist Guild to be a woman. In his previous life, although he had interacted with the Alchemist Guild many times, because it was a neutral force, he had never seen the president of the Alchemist Guild. Now that he had seen it, he really did not expect it to be like this. Long Chun thought about it, and subconsciously used his divine sense to scan the woman. Bang, bang, bang. A series of air explosions sounded in front of the woman. Elder Fong immediately turned around and shouted, "How dare you use your divine sense to scan the president? Do you want to die?" Long Chun was stunned. He quickly retracted his divine sense. This was not intentional. It was really a subconscious action. He did not expect this woman to have such a high-grade divine sense defensive item. It could even detect his divine sense. Of course, if he forcefully scanned, Long Chun had absolute confidence that he could break through this person's divine sense defensive item. Before Long Chun could open his mouth, the woman in the cheongsam waved her hand and signaled Elder Fong to leave. A pair of long legs leisurely walked towards Long Chun. Finally, she stopped less than a meter away from Long Chun. Her chest was so high that Qing Xian subconsciously glanced at her own chest. "Little brother, it's very impolite of you to use your divine sense to scan a woman like this. If you want to understand me, why don't you ask them to leave and we can have a deep conversation alone?" The woman did not stop. She breathed into Long Chen's ear. Long Chen's lips curled into a smile. He said calmly, "Of course." After Long Chen finished speaking, he signaled Qing Xian and Yi Hailon to follow Ao Sangxiong to wait outside. Yi Hailon frowned slightly, but he was the first to turn and leave. Qing Xian also followed Ao Sangxiong out, looking back 3 times with every step. Elder Fong followed closely behind. Seeing that several people had left and only the 2 of them were left in the room, Long Chun stared at the woman in the cheongsam and said, "Your Excellency, it's better to take a few steps back. Otherwise, how can we have a conversation?" The woman was stunned. She smiled charmingly and took 2 steps back. "Your divine sense just now did not seem to be the strength of an early-stage human sovereign. Is there anything more bizarre than the fact that the president of the Alchemist Guild, which even the 4 one-star ancient clans are afraid of, is only a human sovereign?" Long Chen asked. Chapter 425. Trading and looking for trouble. No one would believe that a woman in the human monarch realm was the president of the Alchemist Guild. The woman looked at Long Chen with a charming smile and replied, "I usually don't show up in person. On the surface, alchemists are a paradise for alchemists, but in reality, they're just a tool for my clan to make money." The woman was straightforward, and her explanation made Long Chen come to a sudden realization. In the wasteland, was there any other power that could compete with the Alchemist Guild in terms of plundering wealth? The woman's eyes were like fire as she stared at Long Chen. With a wave of her right hand, several pills appeared in her hand. Then, she handed the pills to Long Chun and asked, "These pills were refined by Lu Yi. She said that you are her master. Do you really know how to refine pills like this?" Long Chun didn't answer the woman's question. He just stared at her with a faint smile. When a woman saw Long Chin's expression, she giggled. Her tight and delicate body was reflected in the Chong Sam, and people couldn't help but look at her. After a long while, the woman stared at Long Chun and said, "If you have any requests, feel free to state them." Long Chun seemed to have been waiting for her to say this. He smiled and said, "I will only teach 3 people. These 3 people must be proficient in the art of matrices. You can decide the rank of the matrices yourself. Secondly, I have 3 pill recipes here. Help me find all the spiritual herbs in them. Thirdly, I want the Alchemist Guild to make a move." Long Chin's words caused the lady to be slightly startled. Soon after, she frowned and said, "Although my clan secretly controls everything in the Alchemist Guild, we have always maintained a neutral position. Other than the 3rd condition, I can promise you the other 2 conditions." Long Chun continued, "I want you to sever all ties with the Bright Moon ancient clan from today onwards." "Why?" the woman asked. "Because I want this clan to be exterminated," Long Chun said coldly. The 2 of them talked for a long time before Long Chun walked out of the room. Qing Xian walked to Long Chen's side and said, "Young master, that woman didn't do anything to you, right?" Long Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he shook his head. In fact, this transaction was very smooth. "Let's go. I will bring you to buy some useful pills here," Long Chan said to the crowd as he took out a token. "With this token, we can freely choose 100 elixirs from the pill pagoda." Ao Sangqiong's eyes stared at Long Chen's token and said, "Why did that woman look for you? Why did she give you such a thing? Starting from tomorrow onwards, the Alchemist Guild of the Alchemist Guild for the Alchemists for Alchemist 10, for the Alchemists for Alchemists for Alchemists. Ao Sangqiong was even more speechless. This was the Alchemist Guild, and Long Shun actually wanted to teach people how to refine pills. The entire White Jade Ivory Tower was very spacious. Everyone strolled from top to bottom. Soon, the sky darkened. Using the tokens, they selected dozens of extremely high-grade medicinal pills. After walking around for an entire day, they finally left the pill tower and found a restaurant outside. If the other ancient clans were to be described as sects that were built beside mountains, then the Alchemist Guild would be a city that was built around the Ivory Tower and the 9 huge Calder Mountains. It was filled with merchants and everything one could think of. As for Long Chun, in his heart, he thought that the girl he saw in the Alchemist Guild was a merchant. Perhaps to her, the Alchemist Guild was just a tool to amass wealth. After finding the hotel, just as Long Chun and the others were about to check in, they were stopped by 3 men in armor. Each of these people was at the early stage of the human sovereign realm. Long Chun frowned slightly. Ao Sangqiong asked directly, "What can I do for you, Alchemist Guards?" The Alchemist Guards were the administrators of the Alchemist Guild. In fact, these people were not members of the Alchemist Guild. They were just recruited. The Alchemist Guild provided them with the medicinal pills they needed for cultivation, and they became guards as resources. This was enough to show the strength of the Alchemist Guild. In such a big place, every Alchemist Guard was at least at the early stage of the human sovereign realm. Several people stopped Long Chun and ignored Ao Sangqiong's question. They said coldly, "You're Long Chun, right? Someone reported you for stealing medicinal pills in the Ivory Tower. Seal your own cultivation and come with us." Stealing medicinal pills? Long Chun could not help but stand up and say coldly, "What evidence do you have to prove that we stole medicinal pills?" However, several Alchemist Guards stared at Long Chun and the others playfully and said, "If you have any evidence, come back with us. For now, you'd better seal your own cultivation and come with us." As soon as they finished speaking, they surrounded Long Chun and the others. When the hotel manager saw this, he hurriedly came up to mediate the situation and said, "Everyone, please don't do anything. My small shop can't afford to be messed around. I don't think you're thieves, bang." However, as soon as he finished speaking, a middle-aged man who was the leader of the Alchemist Guards kicked him and sent him flying. He hit the counter hard, and blood kept coming out of his mouth. Then, this person stared at Long Chun with eyes full of sarcasm. He took a few steps forward and said, "Come with me. I think these two women are also accomplices. Take them with us." As this person spoke, he actually released streams of origin energy and grabbed at Yi Hailon and Qing Xian. Humph. When he saw this, Long Chen's eyes instantly turned cold, and he disappeared on the spot with a flash. A sword appeared in his hand. Although the sword couldn't be unsheathed at this moment, it could be considered a high-grade spirit sword. At this moment, the crowd gradually surrounded them from all directions. They seemed to be waiting for a good show. The third elder of the Sword Worship clan and Jian Shun in the crowd sneered. They seemed to be ready to see Long Chun suffer. This alchemist guard was once a guest of my Sword Worship clan. Later, he was driven out because he made a mistake. If I didn't plead on his behalf, I'm afraid he would have died. This time, I'll make Long Chun suffer here. The third elder of the Sword Worship clan said to Jian Shun when he saw Long Chun attack. Bang! When Long Chen's figure appeared again, the sword in his hand that hadn't been unsheathed actually pierced through the chest of the man in the lead. Scram! Long Chun shouted coldly. The sword in his hand trembled, and streams of origin energy directly shattered half of the man's body. If he used any more strength, he was afraid that his physical body would be destroyed directly, leaving only his spiritual soul behind. The man's physical body recovered rapidly. The alchemist guards around him also gasped and wanted to take a few steps back. This person is so young, but he has the strength to kill an early-stage Ren Huang in an instant. I wonder which heaven-defying family he is from. A heaven-defying family? I don't think so. This person actually dared to attack the alchemist guards. I'm afraid this matter is very troublesome. Maybe he really stole the elixirs? It's not impossible. He just bought a lot of high-grade elixirs in the ivory tower. Chapter 426. The ruckus grew bigger and bigger. Seeing that Long Chun had almost destroyed a Dan martial guard's body with a single move, more and more people gathered around, including several disciples of the Sword Worship clan. When they saw that it was Long Chun, they couldn't help but be stunned. The third elder of the Sword Worship clan coughed lightly when he saw them. Did you see that? This person looks like a gentleman on the surface, but in reality? Yet, he's actually a thief. He actually dared to attack a Dan martial guardian. This is simply an idiot's action. As he spoke, the third elder felt that he had regained some of his face, and the corners of his mouth unconsciously curled into a smile. The people around nodded one after another. Attacking a Dan martial guardian in the Alchemist Association headquarters was not a wise move, sure enough. The commotion quickly attracted attention, and a thin man wearing a purple cauldron pattern armor walked towards the crowd. The people around stepped aside to make a path for him. The moment this person appeared, several Dan martial guardians bowed and said, "Greetings, Middle Elder." The thin man's face was gloomy as he nodded slightly. He stared at the person who had just reformed his body and said in a deep voice, "What's going on?" The person who had his body destroyed by Long Chun was a lower elder. He had 10 managers under him, but the middle elder was in charge of 100 people. This person had just reformed his body, and he only felt a burning sensation on his face. There were so many people around, and he was almost destroyed in one move. Reporting to middle elder, I suspected this person of stealing pills and wanted to bring him back for questioning. I didn't expect him to attack directly and look down on our Dan martial guardians. This person bowed and said to the middle elder. The middle elder looked deeply and waved his hand. He turned around and looked deeply at Long Chun. His eyes narrowed, revealing a cold glint, and said, "Your Excellency's attack is too heavy. Moreover, since you didn't steal, why don't you dare to seal your own cultivation and come with us?" Long Chun saw that the middle elder was also like this, and he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. If he hadn't held back just now, he wouldn't have directly killed someone in the Alchemist Association headquarters. This lower elder's body would probably have been destroyed by him. Long Chun said coldly, "Since you're accusing us of stealing, Do you have any evidence? Show it to me. Evidence? The fact that you dared to attack my Dan Marshall guardians is the proof. The middle-ranked Long Chun shouted coldly. Dan Marshall guardians from all directions began to gather around Long Chun. In the blink of an eye, dozens of Dan Marshall guards surrounded Long Chun. When he saw this, Long Chun heaved a long sigh of relief, and a wisp of killing intent flashed in his eyes. If it wasn't for the fact that he had a business relationship with a woman from the Alchemist Guild, he would have probably made a move at this moment. Go and call your manager over. Let me take a look at this token. Long Chun raised his hand and took out the token he had obtained from the woman and threw it towards the middle elder. However, the middle-level elder directly waved his hand and sent the token flying. He said coldly, "Take this person down first. We'll talk about the rest later." "How dare you?" Seeing the Dan Marshall guardians charge at them, Long Chun and the others immediately spread out their origin force and engaged in battle with the Dan Marshall guardians. In the crowd, the third elder's face grew redder and redder. As long as Long Chun had a conflict with the Dan Marshall guardians, regardless of the outcome, the bigger the conflict, the harder it would be to clean up the mess. Bang, bang, bang. Long Chun didn't hold back at all. As the long sword in his hand moved, the early-stage Renhuangs couldn't even last 10 moves against him, especially those who used the origin of the 5 elements. They couldn't even withstand one move. Their physical bodies were instantly shattered. At this moment, everyone realized that not only Long Chun, but also Ao Tsangxiong and the 2 women were far stronger than their peers. They were only early-stage Renhuangs, but they were no weaker than middle-stage Renhuangs. This made the middle-level elder feel a little uneasy. However, since things had already come to this, he had no intention of stopping. Divine light shot up into the sky. The situation was getting worse and worse. No one thought that Long Chun and the others would dare to fight with the Dan Marshall guardians led by the middle guard captain here. Moreover, they had shattered the physical bodies of more than 10 people in a row. The people around them gradually retreated. Everyone's attacks were somewhat out of control. The dozens of people led by the middle-level elder seemed to be at a disadvantage. This made everyone sigh. The third elder of the swordsman clan also couldn't help but feel a little more afraid of Long Chun and the others. This kind of combat power was really heaven-defying. When the middle-level elder saw this, he couldn't help but retreat more than 10 steps. In less than half an hour, the number of people whose physical bodies had been shattered by Long Chun had reached more than 10. There were less than 10 people left in the field. All of them had lost their will to fight. They all turned pale and retreated in horror. The thin middle-level elder's face was livid. He said to Long Chun coldly, "Do you know where you are? How dare you kill so many Dan Marshall guardians here?" Without waiting for Long Chun to answer, he turned around and shouted at the middle-level elder, "Send out the signal. Ask the middle-level elder to bring people here to suppress them. If you can't do it, report to the guard captain of the Dan Marshall Guardians in the Ivory Tower. Today, I'd like to see if this person can still overturn the heavens." The people around all thought that Long Chun and the others were too reckless. The Dan Marshall Guardians were used to being arrogant. If they had swallowed this anger and restrained their own cultivation to be captured for interrogation, they would at most suffer for a few days. The situation wouldn't have become so irreconcilable. Now, in their eyes, Long Chun and the others might lose their lives here. The Alchemist Guild wouldn't care which clan you were from. However, Long Chun stood in place. His eyes were still cold, as if he was waiting for the matter to blow up. As expected, not long after, a mighty group of Dan Marshall Guardians came here and surrounded Long Chun and the others. There were no less than 1,000 of them. "You still have the guts to talk? You dare to kill the bodies of so many of my Dan Marshall Guardians. If you destroy your own body and follow me to receive your punishment, I might be able to spare your worthless life." The guard captain shouted with great confidence. Long Chun looked around and saw that Ao Tsangxiong and the others' faces were extremely gloomy. However, he sneered and said, "Good, very good." With such a big commotion happening here, The elders in charge of the lower levels of the ivory tower all came to ask what had happened. A few of them were stunned the moment they saw Long Chun. They were in charge of selling elixirs on the first few levels of the ivory tower, so they naturally knew the token that Long Chun was holding. Now, that token was lying all by itself beside the middle-level elder. When the elders saw this scene, they instantly felt their backs drenched in cold sweat. One of them even walked forward shakily, tried to pick up the token on the ground. Chapter 427. Seeing Lu Yi against situations like Long Chun holding an elder's token were not unheard of. Even so, under normal circumstances, no one would be able to do anything to the Dan Marshall Guardians if they acted first and reported later. Therefore, the two of them did not want the elders in the ivory tower to pick up the token first. However, when he approached the old man who had gone to pick up the token, he suddenly felt a cold, killing intent. He saw that the cabinet elder, who was supposed to be on good terms with the Dan Wu Wei, had actually slapped him in the face at close range. Bang! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the middle-level elder was directly slapped 100 meters away, and half of his face was smashed into pieces. The lower-level elder stood there in a daze. His face suddenly turned pale, and his body stiffened. His eyes were full of confusion. He did not know why the inner pavilion elder would be so ruthless. The elder glared at him and picked up the token with his right hand. A four-legged cauldron was carved on it. It was ancient and strange, and it was surrounded by golden patterns. On the back, the word Yun was carved. When the lower-level elder saw the word Yun, he could not help but tremble. His eyes were full of fear. In the entire Alchemist Association headquarters, only the president could carve the shape of a cauldron and leave his surname on the token. This was the token of the president of the Alchemist Association headquarters. Plop! The lower-level elder actually knelt on the ground. The Dan Marshall Guardians who came in a grandiose manner were also stunned. They did not know why. The elders suddenly shouted, "Get out of here. This person is the president's guest. How can you be so presumptuous?" The Dan Marshall Guardians who rushed out of the ivory tower retreated like the tide. Long Chun stood in place, his eyes full of coldness. He said in a deep voice, "Today, I've seen the Alchemist Association's hospitality." Long Chun leaped out and appeared beside the middle-level elder who was just slapped away. Then he slashed out with his sword and directly smashed the man's body into pieces. Seeing the man's spirit rush out, Long Chun grabbed the air with his left hand and directly crushed the man's spirit. The onlookers could not help but tremble when they saw this scene. A middle-stage Ren Huang was completely killed by Long Chun before his spiritual soul could even escape. On the other hand, when the lower chief saw this scene, he immediately knelt on the ground with a thud and kowtowed continuously. "Please spare my life, my lord. Please spare my life. I've also been bewitched by someone, and that's why I'm here to cause trouble for you. Please give me a chance." Just like that, the lower chief knelt in front of Long Chun, shivering in fear. When the several cabinet elders saw that Long Chun was in such a state, none of them tried to stop him. Long Chun did not care about this person at all. His scabbard moved again, and the body of this lower head elder was directly smashed into pieces, leaving behind only a spirit. Long Chun narrowed his eyes and asked, "Who sent you to find trouble with me?" This lower head elder was only left with his soul. With Long Chun's ability to suppress the soul of a middle head elder, it would be too easy to kill him. The lower chief was completely terrified. His spiritual soul immediately pointed to the third elder of the swordsman worship clan who was standing in the crowd at this moment. "It's him. He's the one who sent me to find trouble with you." Long Chun looked in the direction of this person's finger, and his eyes immediately fell on the third elder of the swordsman worship clan. The people around all turned around and looked at the people of the swordsman worship clan. The people around them also immediately stepped back and isolated them. Ao Tsangxiong, Yi Hailon, and Qing Xian were immediately furious. They had never thought that the third elder of the swordsman worship clan would be so narrow-minded. On the contrary, Long Chun could not help but shake his head. It seemed that he had already guessed something. The third elder of the Swordsman Worship clan's face was already ashen at this moment. The disciples of the Swordsman Worship clan beside him also felt that they had lost face. Long Chun slowly walked in front of the third elder. His eyes were like torches as he stared at him and said coldly, "Your clan can be considered to be our benefactor, and we are also on good terms. Your Excellency, it's best that you abide by the rules. Don't make a mistake." After Long Chun finished speaking, he turned around and left with Ao, Sancheon, and the others. Jian Shursan and the 3 mythological beast battle souls were still in the Swordsman Worship clan. The Swordsman Worship clan could be considered to be their benefactor. Long Chun did not want to destroy the relationship between the two forces because of a narrow-minded person like the third elder. This time, letting this person go could be considered as Long Chun returning the favor of entering the sword pool. Seeing that Long Chun was about to leave, several intersect elders hurriedly ran forward and respectfully returned the token to Long Chun. Long Chun left without looking back. The elders returned at this time and walked in front of the Swordsman Worship clan's third elder. They said coldly, "If your Excellency has nothing else to do, you should quickly scram back to the Swordsman Worship clan. It's best if you don't let us know that you're using the Pill Martial Guardians to do things. Otherwise, even if they let you go, don't blame us for being ruthless." After being berated by these people, the Swordsman Worship clan's third elder naturally did not dare to talk back. In the Alchemist Guild, if these elders wanted to kill him, the Swordsman Worship clan would not be able to do anything. Everyone dispersed. Even the other disciples of the Swordsman Worship clan were very disdainful of the third elder's actions. No one stayed. Only Jian Shun supported the third elder and said, "Master, I didn't expect this person to have the Alchemist Guild's president's token. It seems like he really has a close relationship with the Alchemist Guild. Let's go back. This time we've lost." Slap! The third elder suddenly shook off Jian Chen's hand. His body could not help but tremble from anger. Not only did the killing intent in his eyes not decrease, it became even stronger. Night fell. The Alchemist Guild's president passed down an order. All the Pill Martial Guardians that made a move against Long Chun that day were removed from their positions and chased out of the Alchemist Guild. All the members of the Swordsman Worship clan left the Alchemist Guild in advance, but Jian Shun and the third elder's whereabouts were unknown. Obviously, this night was not peaceful. The night passed, and so did the morning. Before Long Chun and the others could open their eyes, a large group of people arrived outside the hotel. There were men and women in front and behind them. The 2 women in the lead were even more excited. It was Lu Yi and Yen Li. When Long Chun asked yesterday, the president said that the 2 of them were refining pills. Now it seemed that the 2 of them had heard of Long Chen's arrival and had come out of seclusion in advance. Lu Yi and Yen Li quickly walked to the room Long Chen was in. Long Chen had just pushed open the door when Lu Yi threw herself into his arms. Looking at the little girl's pure appearance and the astonished gazes around him, he could only smile bitterly and pat the little girl's shoulder, indicating for her to get up first. Lu Yi's figure was extremely well developed, but besides refining pills, she did not care about anything else. She knew nothing about the ways of the world. "Master, you're finally here." Lu Yi hugged Long Chen's arm with both hands with an excited expression. Chapter 428. Alchemy Venerable asks for advice. After Lu Yi arrived at the Alchemist Association headquarters, she attracted the attention of the Pill Tower within a few days. She was young, but displayed unprecedented talent in alchemy. Even so, there were genius alchemists from all over the world in the Alchemist Association. However, many people soon realized that the elixirs refined by Lu Yi were very different from the elixirs refined by the current generation. Whether it was the degree of purity or the medicinal effect, they were far superior to the original elixirs. After some investigation, everyone clearly realized that the elixirs refined by Lu Yi were similar to the elixirs obtained by the 5 great divine realms. especially the cracks on them. Therefore, the Alchemist Association valued Lu Yi especially and directly nurtured her as a Tao disciple of the Alchemist Association. Everyone also learned about Long Chun from Lu Yi. This was also why the Alchemist Association personally went to the Juin ancient people to meet Long Chun. However, now that Long Chun saw Lu Yi in the Alchemist Association like the moon surrounded by stars, he felt more at ease. One after another, fiery eyes stared at Lu Yi and finally landed on Long Chun. These handsome men and beautiful women were the younger generation of the Alchemist Association with decent alchemy skills. Even their backgrounds were quite good. Is this the master that Yi mentioned? Why is he so young? A handsome man holding a feather fan had a puzzled look on his face. The people around them were also quite puzzled. Many of them admired Lu Yi's alchemy skills. Today, when they heard that Lu Yi's master was here, they were all excited and followed him. However, the moment they saw Long Chun, they were all puzzled. In their hearts, Lu Yi's master should at least be an alchemist with a title. At the very least, he should be a senior with a white beard who had made great achievements in alchemy. However, they never would have thought that Long Chun's master was this young man who was even younger than them by a few years. Long Chun looked at everyone's puzzled expressions and could not help but smile helplessly. Order some food and wine, and invite your friends to sit down and have a chat, Long Chun said casually. Qing Xian immediately understood. He went downstairs to order a few tables of dishes and wine and let everyone to sit down. Lu Yi, it was like a little sister next door, telling Long Chun everything that happened after she entered the Alchemist Guild. Finally, one of the many young alchemist disciples couldn't help but ask, "Are you really an alchemist? Was Yi's understanding of alchemy really taught by you? Little brother, you don't look as old as me. How could you be Yi's master? Is there a mistake?" Everyone was discussing animatedly, but they didn't seem to have any malicious intent. They just couldn't believe that Long Chun was Lu Yi's master at such a young age. Seeing that they had no ill intentions, Long Chun opened his mouth, intending to give them a few pointers and explain. But before he finished speaking, he saw 3 old men with extraordinary auras outside the door, striding in. Everyone saluted them as they passed. The 3 of them strode in with their heads held high. Their white beards brushed their faces, but they also had the momentum of swallowing mountains and rivers. The 3 of them walked straight to the hotel, where everyone was. Many alchemist disciples suddenly showed a look of reverence. They stood up from the dining table and bowed to the 3 old men. "Greetings, revered Qing. Greetings, revered you. Greetings, revered blood." Everyone's greetings made Ao, Sangxiong, Qing Xian, and the others stunned. There were actually 3 god-level alchemists. People from all directions on the street were approaching quickly. It was extremely rare for 3 revered alchemists to appear at the same time. However, after the 3 alchemist venerables stepped into the hotel, they said in a deep voice, "Who is Mr. Long?" As soon as this person's voice fell, everyone around looked at each other and looked around. They didn't know who these 3 alchemist venerables were looking for. Only Ao, Sangxiong, Yi Hailon, Lu Yi, and the others were stunned. Their eyes fell on Long Chun. These 3 alchemist venerables were actually looking for Long Chun. Long Chun stared at the 3 people at this moment and couldn't help but be stunned. After a while, he couldn't help but smile bitterly and say helplessly, "I'm Long Chun." He had a date with Yin Mei to teach 3 people who were proficient in arrays how to refine pills. But he never thought that Yin Mei would be so thick-skinned. She actually directly found 3 revered alchemists. After today, Long Chun learned another thing, and that was to not negotiate with women, let alone with a businesswoman. The 3-faced alchemist, everyone present, and even the crowd outside the door were all dumbfounded. The person whom the 3 revered alchemists called Mr. was actually this young man in front of them. Qing Zun, who was dressed in blue and had a face like an old scholar, stared at Long Chun and frowned. He said, "Who are you?" At this time, we don't have time to joke with you. Who is Long Chun? We were ordered to come to ask Mr. Long Chun for advice on refining pills. Please come out and meet us, Mr. Long Chun. Seeing that these people were already a little impatient, Long Chun smiled bitterly. He secretly thought that Yinmei must have done this deliberately. She didn't tell these people what he looked like at all. The three of you don't need to ask anymore. I am Long Chun. I was also personally found by your president to guide you in refining pills. Long Chun shook his head and said. The three alchemist venerables stared at each other with a speechless look on their faces. Lu Yi and Yinli stood up at this time and bowed. Three elders alchemist venerables. This person is really Long Chun. He is also Yi's master. At this moment, there was an uproar. The noise of the crowd on the street was overwhelming. Three alchemist venerables actually wanted to ask a young man for advice on alchemy. This was simply unheard of. Many disciples who came with Lu Yi also looked at Long Chun. Just now, they were still wondering whether Long Chun was a real alchemist. Now, the three alchemist venerables actually came to ask for advice. After a short moment of being stunned, the three alchemist venerables' faces were gloomy, but they didn't dare to violate the orders from above. They walked to Long Chun and said, Boy, just say a few words. We will go back and report. What can a young boy like you give us? They all said that the pills refined by Lu Yi are different. The three of us have just come out of seclusion and haven't seen them. Now that we have seen her master directly, I think it might not be anything. I think everyone should just deal with it. Boy, we won't make things difficult for you. When Long Chun heard everyone's words, he secretly thought that Yinmei was deliberately messing with him. However, if he wanted to make this deal, teaching the three of them how to refine pills was the most important thing. Chapter 429. Instructing Pill Refinement. The three of you, come with me. This sentence almost choked everyone to death. These are three venerated pill masters. Do you really think you're some big shot? The people around couldn't help but ridicule. The three venerated pill masters' faces also darkened. Why do you have to put on an act? I think there must be some misunderstanding. And I can talk casually and go back to report. Long Chun shook his head. Seeing that more and more people were gathering around, it wasn't a good idea to go first. His divine sense immediately enveloped the three of them. After a while, he said to the venerated pill master, You said that the three of you just came out of seclusion. I don't think so. You came out yesterday, right? The three of them frowned and stared at Long Chun, not knowing what he was going to say. After you came out of seclusion yesterday, you exchanged pills and took them. The clear water purple jade pill you refined, the one you refined was Long Chun spoke word by word, clearly describing the pills the three of them refined and the time they took the pills. He even described the medicinal properties of the pills clearly. The three of them were instantly petrified. One of them even asked, How do you know so much? When the people around saw the venerated pill master's reaction, there was an uproar. They were shocked by Long Chun. Long Chun was a little too excited. He said to the three of them, The pills you refined yesterday still have some flaws. I can improve them, but it's too inconvenient to talk here. Long Chun used his powerful divine sense and the inheritance of alchemy. He could clearly analyze the pills they refined based on the smell of their bodies and the many remnants, especially since the medicinal properties of the pills they took had not completely taken effect. As the three of them swallowed and spat, he could almost determine the medicinal properties and names of the pills they refined. In fact, if he paid attention, he could even clearly guess the number of spiritual herbs used. The three of them looked at each other, thinking that they came here under orders. If Long Chun could really solve their doubts, it would be for the best. If they couldn't, they could quickly return to report on their mission. Thinking of this, the three of them immediately agreed. They directly said to Long Chun, Then why don't you accompany us to the first pill Cauldron Mountain to take a look? That place is more suitable for discussing the Tao of alchemy. Long Chun nodded and followed closely behind the three of them as they walked outside. Ao, Sangxiong, and the others followed closely behind, but when they reached the bottom of the first pill Cauldron Mountain, they were stopped. It turned out that only people from the Alchemist Guild were allowed to enter the cauldron. Ao, Sangxiong, Yi Hailon, and Qing Xian were blocked outside. Many other people who came to watch the show were also blocked outside, helplessly. On the other hand, Lu Yi and the other young disciples of the Alchemist Guild followed behind them and stepped on a cauldron mountain. They walked all the way to Cauldron Mountain. When they were 2/3 of the way there, they saw countless square platforms less than 100 meters wide. They were still surrounded by towering trees. As such, no one could see the platforms from the outside. Many pill cauldrons were erected on the platforms. Someone was refining pills. The arrival of the 3 alchemist venerables and many young disciples behind them still attracted many people's attention. They all bowed to the 3 of them. In the end, the 3 alchemist venerables brought Long Chun and the others to a larger platform. The few people beside Lu Yi couldn't help but ask, "Yi, is this person really your master? Is his alchemy really so powerful that he can teach alchemist venerables?" Lu Yi looked proud. She stared at Long Chun and said excitedly, "Master is the most powerful person in Yi's heart. The pills he refined are the most perfect ones Yi has ever seen." Everyone looked at Long Chun and the 3 alchemist venerables excitedly. The 3 alchemist venerables frowned and looked at Long Chun. They didn't care about Lu Yi and the others. Long Chun spoke first. "This is a deal between me and the Alchemist Guild president. The 3 of you are the people I want to teach. If you have any questions, you can go and ask." Even so, however, the 3 of them didn't seem to be willing to ask. They replied in a deep voice, "The president is very busy every day. I'm afraid he won't see us for this matter." Long Chun sighed. Hearing their words, if he guessed correctly, the Alchemist Guild should have another president on the surface. The Yun family, where Yun Mei who met him yesterday, was the real mastermind behind the Alchemist Guild. Compared to the Yun family, the Alchemist Guild was just a business for them to make money. "You don't have to be like this. In terms of alchemy, I may not be as good as you, but I can guide you to refine higher quality pills," Long Chun said. The 3 alchemist venerables shook their heads and laughed. They didn't care whether it was true or not. At this moment, since they were sure that Long Chun was the person mentioned above, they could only follow the order to learn alchemy. However, the 3 of them were a little absent-minded. Just as Long Chun said, they were alchemist venerables, and Long Chun's alchemy cultivation was even worse than theirs. Naturally, they didn't have much hope that they could learn anything from Long Chun. Seeing their attitude, Long Chun wasn't angry. After all, the 3 of them were alchemist venerables. It was natural for them to be a little arrogant. He just needed to teach them the method of refining the vein splitting technique. Of course, Long Chun couldn't teach them everything. "What kind of pills are the 3 of you best at refining? Each of you will refine 3 types in front of me." Long Chun ordered the 3 of them. The 3 of them looked at Long Chun's nonchalant appearance and were angry. Since they became alchemist venerables, they had never been ordered like this. "Okay, don't waste time. Hurry up and work with this person for a day. Tomorrow, report to the Pill Pagoda. It's just a formality. Let's do it." This person's guess just now was a little strange. Let's treat it as an eye-opener for these juniors today. The 3 of them also compromised. They directly waved their hands and summoned a huge cauldron to start refining pills. The 3 of them were worthy of being alchemist venerables. With a raise of their hands, one could see ethereal fire appearing out of thin air and spirit herbs dancing at their fingertips. Lu Yi and the others were even more excited. It was a rare opportunity to watch 3 alchemist venerables refine pills at such a close distance. However, after dozens of breaths, Long Chun's brows furrowed deeper and deeper. Finally, he coldly snorted and shouted at the 3 of them, "Stop! What are you doing? Don't you understand what I said? I want each of you to refine 3 types of pills that you are best at." The spectating disciples were stunned. No one thought that Long Chun would actually dare to directly shout at 3 alchemist venerables to refine pills. The 3 alchemist venerables' faces turned cold for a moment. Long Chun directly ignored their faces and said in a deep voice, "If you have this attitude, you can go back to the president and tell him that I can't hand you over. Otherwise, don't waste my time here." Each of you will refine 3 types of pills that you're best at. I will teach you how to improve the quality of the pills. Chapter 430. Alchemy Venerables convinced. As Alchemy Venerables, the 3 of them had lofty statuses even in the Alchemist Guild. But now they were being ordered around by a brat like Long Chun. Naturally, they were very displeased. But the few of them had no choice because of the authority of the guild president. Another Alchemy Venerable also snorted coldly and said, "If he wants to watch us refine, then let's just refine. Why bother with him?" The 3 of them looked at each other, and a hint of playfulness appeared in their eyes. The flames above the 3 pill cauldrons instantly expanded to 1,000 feet. Streaks of virtual fire rose and fell one after another. The divine light around the 3 of them swept out like a tide. The expressions of many alchemists on Pill Cauldron Mountain also changed instantly, and they looked over from afar. Under the divine light, stalks of spirit herbs seemed to come alive, intertwining and dancing, and finally falling toward the pill cauldrons with a unique rhythm. Their speed was extremely fast, dazzling everyone's eyes. Lu Yi and the many young disciples around could not help but have a look of longing, obviously also impressed by the 3's techniques. Among them, a slightly older man even said excitedly, "The 3 Alchemy Venerables are going to refine Divine Tier medicinal pills." Divine Tier medicinal pills, don't be noisy, watch carefully. Although we can't see anything about the refinement of Divine Tier medicinal pills, we could try to figure out the techniques and fire controlling techniques, etc. Everyone was extremely excited, staring at the 3 Alchemy Venerables. Many alchemists on other platforms also could not help but have a look of reverence, watching from afar. The 3 of them were refining the medicinal pills they were most familiar with, so their speed was very fast. But they were refining Divine Tier medicinal pills after all. When the 3 of them all stopped, it was already night. When night fell, the divine light above the entire Pill Cauldron Mountain was like a waterfall, illuminating the entire mountain range. Looking over, the divine light emitted by the 9 Cauldron Mountains was like stars surrounding the moon, illuminating the ivory tower like a divine land. The lights were bright. The 3 Divine Tier alchemists also finally stopped. Under everyone's gaze, the 3 of them opened their pill cauldrons at the same time. The people around were in an uproar. The 3 of them refined a total of 9 Divine Tier medicinal pills, but they came out of the cauldron at the same time. There were actually 3 different medicinal pills in each human cauldron. In other words, they refined 3 types of pills at the same time. The corners of the 3 god-level alchemists' mouths curled into a playful smile. Refining 3 kinds of elixirs in one furnace. This refining method was something that only a few people in the Alchemist Guild could accomplish. The relationship between the 3 of them was pretty good. Most of the time, they would communicate with each other when it came to alchemy. This kind of alchemy technique was also discovered through their mutual reference. One of the Alchemy Venerables smiled at Long Chun and said, "Why aren't you speaking? Why don't you say it's just average?" The other 2 also sneered and looked toward Long Chun. The reason why they refined the pills in such a way was to unwittingly increase the difficulty of distinguishing between the pills. There were 3 types of pills in one cauldron, so who would know which spirit herb was on which pill? In this way, the difficulty of distinguishing between the 2 would increase by several times. The many disciples who were watching with Lu Yi were amazed by the 3 divine grade alchemists' miraculous techniques. Immediately, they stared at Long Chun and couldn't help shaking their heads. Not to mention Long Chun, even the other divine grade alchemists wouldn't be able to see through this kind of technique. When everyone looked at Long Chun couldn't help but reveal a disdainful smile. He slowly walked up to the 3 and said in a deep voice, "Ignorant." As soon as he said this, the people around him stiffened. The 3 divine grade alchemists were immediately furious. If it weren't for the orders from above, they would have slapped Long Chun to death. Do you know what kind of pills we refined? If you can't tell, then don't talk nonsense here. Ignorant child, What gives you the confidence to judge the three of us like this? When the three of us became famous, you were still drinking milk somewhere. No matter how good-tempered the three alchemy venerables were, they couldn't help but burst out shouting now. The three of them were famous, but now they were scolded in front of everyone. This was simply an insult to them. The people around them were worried for Long Chun. Looking at the three alchemy venerables who were a little angry, they were terrified. However, Long Chen's expression didn't change. He walked up to the so-called venerables and said in a deep voice, "Refining pills from the beginning of the medicine, a total of 7 hours and 20 minutes. Refining pills are life-generating source pill, purple jade spirit revitalizing pill, and jade breaking bone tempering pill. Among them, the life-generating source pill can increase the comprehension of condensing origin. The three types of pill share 372 spiritual herbs and 79 auxiliary materials." Long Chun spoke without thinking. It was as if he had a deep understanding of the situation. He knew everything clearly. Venerable's eyes gradually widened. He stared at Long Chun, and his jaw almost fell to the ground. What Long Chun said was actually the same as his refining method. After a long while, Long Chun stopped talking. The surrounding onlookers were also stunned on the spot. Their eyes fell on revered Qing in unison. The other two alchemy venerables also walked up in a hurry and asked venerables, Is this kid right? Is this person talking nonsense?" Even though he got the names of these three pills right, but the ingredients used and the spirit herbs used, even the two of us don't know about them. How could he possibly tell? The two of them couldn't believe that Long Chun could know the refining method of the pills clearly just by watching from the side. Long Chen's mouth was still wearing a smile. With the inheritance of alchemy and the divine consciousness of a dominator, he knew far more than that. As expected, after being stunned for a moment, esteemed Qing took a deep breath and looked at Long Chun with a serious expression. He then looked at the two alchemy exalts beside him and said, "What he said is correct. Perhaps we were too rash this time. The president gave the order personally. It seems that he's right. This person's alchemy skills are far above us." Wow. The other two alchemy venerables were stunned when they heard what venerables said. They turned around and stared at Long Chun in disbelief. One of them even lost his voice and said, "You mean this kid's understanding of alchemy is better than the three of us?" The person shook his head fiercely and took 2 steps to Long Chun. He said in a deep voice, "I don't believe you can guess everything correctly. In our refining method." Everyone's eyes fell on Long Chun again. The grade of the pill you refined is slightly lower than Venerable Qing's. It's called. Long Chun didn't even move as he continued to speak eloquently. As his voice faded, the two alchemy venerables' faces changed gradually. For a moment, only the voice of Long Chun lecturing the 3 alchemy venerables was left. After a long while, the 3 of them were silent and stared at Long Chun. Phew! Chapter 431. The last stop. The 3 pill venerable's attitude towards Long Chun had a complete change, causing the people around them to sigh. However, everyone was clear in their hearts that Long Chun's words just now were frightening. 3 kinds of medicinal pills in 1 furnace. 9 kinds of medicinal pills refined by 3 pill venerables were all clearly seen through by him. This was really a little frightening. Seeing the 3 like this, Long Chun nodded slightly and said, "You don't have to be like this. I will help you improve the quality of these medicinal pills, but it's also a deal with your alchemist guild. You just have to listen patiently." The 3 complied and followed behind Long Chun. Seeing that the 3 were no longer as arrogant as they were at the beginning, Long Chun continued, "The first step is that you must refine the medicinal pills separately in the future. You can't use such a trick again. It's flashy but not practical. Some of the medicinal properties of the medicinal pills have already flowed out. It looks fine now, but if you want to take a step forward in your alchemy Tao, it's best to give up this method of refining pills." Long Chun kindly reminded them. These people refined many pills in 1 furnace. It looked like their technique was exquisite, but in reality, it destroyed a trace of medicinal properties. The three nodded one after another, seeming to have a little more trust in Long Chun. Seeing them like this, Long Chun continued to speak. He explained the relationship between formations and alchemy to them in detail. Fortunately, Ynmir did not make things difficult for him in this aspect. Although the three of them were alchemy venerables, their attainments in formations were quite deep. Everyone sat around listening to Long Chen's words as if they were intoxicated. They had long forgotten the passage of time. In the blink of an eye, a day and night passed. Many young disciples beside Lu Yi were also full of reverence for Long Chun. In this day and night, Long Chen's words almost overturned their understanding. It made their understanding of the alchemy Tao suddenly open up. Although they didn't understand the Tao of formations, they had never heard of many of the concepts in Long Chen's words. In contrast, the three-pill venerables benefited a lot. The three of them were also extremely proficient in the Tao of formations. Now that they heard Long Chen's words, the path of alchemy and formation combination was simply a broad path that they had never imagined before. Although they clearly knew that Long Chun had taught them the three-pill refining methods that they were most proficient in, they were still satisfied with just this. After all, they knew that they weren't really Long Chen's disciples. Moreover, it was impossible for them to completely change their alchemy methods with their current attainments in alchemy. It was just like building a house. Once a tall building was built, it would be fine to make some changes to the upper floors. However, if the foundation was shaken, it would backfire and cause everything to go to waste. The three of them used the Long Chun method to refine pills again, but this time, it took them a full 3 days. But in these 3 days, every single pill they refined was of a quality that far surpassed the ones they refined before. The most obvious difference was the 4 cracks on the top. As pill venerables, they could tell with a single glance that the quality of these pills had risen by at least 4 levels. A deity-level pill's quality had risen by 4 levels. How terrifying was this? Although I've given you the method, there are many things that you still need to comprehend on your own. This kind of crack can reach a maximum of 9. Only then can it be considered perfect. Seeing the 3-pill venerables like this, Long Chen reminded them and turned around to leave with Lu Yi and Yin Li. The 3-pill venerables looked at Long Chen's back as he descended the mountain and bowed deeply. The one who reached the top was the teacher. When Long Chen walked down the mountain, Yi Hailan and Ao Sangxiong were already waiting here. Qing Xian walked up and said to Long Chen, "The Alchemist Guild president has already sent everything over." The person who sent the thing said that there are all the spirit herbs that you want. Long Chen's brows slightly raised. The spirit herbs that he requested from Yin might not be of high quality, but their rarity and medicinal properties were definitely first-class existences. However, it had only been a few days, and she had already prepared everything. Long Chun secretly thought that the Yun family behind the Alchemist Guild was extremely powerful. Long Chun took the storage ring from Qing Xian's hand and said to them, "Then we'll stay here for a few more days. Wait for me to refine these spirit herbs into pills." Everyone stayed in the Alchemist Guild and finally understood why the Alchemist Guild was able to have such prestige in the wasteland. In these few days, everyone's cultivation had made great progress. This place had everything that they needed, from medicinal pills for comprehending the origin source to martial techniques. In the blink of an eye, 20 days had passed. In the first 10 days of these 20 days, Long Chun refined a total of 3 types of pills, all of which were 9th grade monarch tier. Not only that, each pill had a total of 9 cracks. Although these pills were all 9th grade monarch tier, the medicinal properties were not inferior to ordinary deity tier pills. They were even superior. In the next 10 days, Long Chun consumed all 3 types of pills. However, something that puzzled Long Chun happened. Originally, he refined these 3 pills to raise his realm to the 3rd grade of the human sovereign realm. However, his realm did not move at all. On the contrary, his 5 elements Azure Dragon body seemed to be shackled. The five elements azure dragon body complements the five elements rules that I condensed at the human sovereign realm and completely completes my dragon soul. Now it seems that if I want to break through again, I must first condense the azure dragon vein's fifth dharma body, the illusory clam dragon. On second thought, Long Chun instantly understood. However, his three elixirs were not completely useless. They had allowed his five elements azure dragon body to reach perfection. Now, he only needed an opportunity to condense the fifth dharma body, the illusory clam dragon. Since he had already obtained the support of Yin Mei from the Alchemist Guild, Long Chun had no need to continue staying in the Alchemist Guild. After gathering everyone together, Long Chun planned to leave. Liu Yi and Yin Li had also heard many things about Long Chun during this period of time. They knew that if they followed Long Chun at this moment, it would be counterproductive. Staying in the Alchemist Guild was the best choice. After bidding farewell to Liu Yi and Yin Li, they set off on their journey again. "Young master, where are we going next?" Qing Xian asked as soon as they left the Alchemist Guild. Long Chun suddenly sneered and said lightly, "This is also the last stop. The passage to the Forbidden Land. The Forbidden Land of the Haoyu ancient clan." When Ao Tsangxiong and Yi Hailon heard Long Chen's words, they were stunned and their faces turned pale. The last time they traveled with Long Chun, they had suffered a great loss in the passage to the Forbidden Land. The two of them had almost died in it. Now Long Chun was going to the passage to the Forbidden Land again. He was even going to enter the Forbidden Land of the Haoyu ancient clan. Long Chun seemed to see everyone's worries. He shook his head and said with a smile, "Don't worry. This time, when we enter the passage to the Forbidden Land, the Haoyu ancient clan will not dare to violate any of the ancient clan treaties again." Chapter 432. Beat a plot at its own game. The crowd didn't know where Long Chen's confidence came from. Even though they had complete faith in him, they couldn't help but feel worried. They walked all the way to the Forbidden Passage. However, they did not know that a group of people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was also heading towards them. There were more than a dozen Renhuangs in this group, and their cultivation levels were all quite high. The leader was dressed in black and had a crescent moon behind him. He hissed, "Is there a mistake in the information? That Long Chun is really coming here. It can't be wrong." This time, the news came from the Alchemist Guild. Moreover, it came from the mouths of the two swordsman clan's third elders. Hearing this, the middle-aged man in black nodded slightly. Everyone stopped at a huge cliff. Then, dozens of array flags appeared in their hands, and they began to move. On the other side, after Long Chun left the Alchemist Guild, the sword-bearing clan's third elder and Jian Shun followed closely behind him. The two of them followed from afar, their faces filled with killing intent. At this moment, 3 days had passed since Long Chun left the Alchemist Guild. Long Chun and Ao Sangqiong's group did not slow down at all as they headed straight for the Forbidden Passage. However, Long Chen's brows hadn't relaxed since 2 days ago, because he had already discovered the whereabouts of the third elder and Jian Shun of the Swordsman clan. However, the two of them didn't make any moves from the beginning to the end. They just hid their figures and followed behind them from afar. Finally, on the 5th day, Long Chun stopped in his tracks, and his figure suddenly rushed back. Ao Sangxiong, Yi Hailon, and the others were at a loss. They had no idea what Long Chun was going to do. However, when Long Chun had flown 10,000 meters, two figures rushed out of the darkness in the distance. Only then did they realize that someone had been following them. Ao Sangxiong and the others looked at each other and followed closely behind. After an hour of chasing, they surrounded the third elder and Jian Shun. Long Chun stared at the two of them and said coldly, "A few days ago, I let you go out of respect for the sword-bearing clan. What do the two of you plan to do now?" Hearing Long Chen's question, he turned to look at Ao Sangxiong and the others who were glaring at him. The faces of the third elder and Jian Shun were incomparably ashen. They had been following him from afar, but they never thought that they would be discovered by Long Chun. The third elder said gloomily, "You go your way, and I'll go mine." After hearing his words, Long Chun shook his head and said, "Since the two of you are willing to follow us, then let's move on together." As soon as he finished speaking, Long Chen's figure suddenly rushed towards the third elder. Ao Tsangqiong, Yi Hailon, and the others also quickly made their moves. Each of them had the cultivation of a heaven-defying Tao child, so they easily took down the two in just a few dozen moves. If it wasn't for Long Chun intentionally holding back, they would have already lost their lives. At this moment, the third elder's face was full of fear, and he was filled with regret. He originally only wanted to follow Long Chun and see with his own eyes that he was caught by the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. However, he was discovered by Long Chun first and was caught by him. The two of them were tied up like chickens by Long Chen's origin energy and dragged far behind him. Seeing that Long Chun was moving forward, Jian Chun was already trembling with fear, and his face was full of fear. After a long while, he no longer paid attention to the third elder and directly shouted at Long Chun, "Don't go any further. There's an ambush ahead. The third elder has already informed the Bright Moon Ancient Clan of your route." The Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Hearing these 4 words, Long Chun and the others suddenly stopped in their tracks. A wisp of killing intent flashed across Long Chen's face. He never thought that the third elder of the sword-bearing clan would contact the Bright Moon Ancient Clan because of some enmity between them. When Jian Chun saw the expressions of Long Chun and the others, he was so frightened that he was speechless. However, even so, he knew that he had to say it. Otherwise, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan would not spare their lives if Long Chun went this time. Once they encountered the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, it was very likely that they would be wiped out. Bright Moon Ancient Clan, I like to see what means they have. Long Chun sneered as his gaze fell on the third elder of the sword-bearing clan. You can go now. I hope that when you return to the sword-bearing clan, you will speak the truth. I'm afraid the third elder won't be able to return. The origin energy in Long Chen's hand shook as he directly threw Jian Chen out. Jian Chen looked deeply at Long Chun. There was still some lingering fear in his eyes, as if he could not believe that Long Chun would let him go. However, Long Chun left without looking back. After Jian Chen left, the third elder walked in front of everyone. For some reason, his face had turned into Long Chen's appearance, and Long Chun and the others were far away from him. The third elder seemed to be walking uncontrollably, and he walked for another 4 days. The surrounding air gradually became turbid, and the low growls of wild beasts could no longer be heard from the lush mountain range. Long Chun and the others suddenly stopped. They saw Long Chen's fingertips moving rapidly, and lines of formation inscriptions shot out. The third elder sped up and rushed forward. He had just walked a few meters when he saw countless origin energy aurora shooting out from the 4-sided room, instantly shattering his divine soul. At the same time, lines of formation inscriptions began to appear and gradually trapped Long Chun and the others inside. Outside the formation, there were many disciples of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan dressed in black, and a crescent moon was undulating behind them. When they saw that everyone had stopped, but Long Chun was already dead in front of them, they could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Their eyes were full of ridicule. They had set up more than a dozen killing formations here, and each of them had the power to kill a Renhuang. After the previous 2 battles, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had a clear understanding of Long Chen's combat strength. If they wanted to kill Long Chun, the only thing they could rely on was this formation inscriptions. Although you are vigilant, now that Long Chun is dead, it will be much easier to kill you. The leader of the group, a middle-aged man in black, sneered. Use all your strength and force them into the last few layers of the formation inscriptions. When the time comes, they will definitely die. As his voice fell, all the people behind him rushed out in an instant. Each of them had a cultivation at the middle stage of the Renhuang realm, and their combat strength was not weak. However, as soon as they rushed out, the head of the leader of the Renhuang realm was smashed by a sword light in a flash. Ao Tsangqiong and the others did not retreat. Instead, they went forward and charged toward the people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Long Chen's figure gradually changed, revealing his original appearance. His face was full of a sneer, and he said in a cold voice, 10 layers of soul-slaying formation. Your Bright Moon ancient clan really thinks highly of me. The moment Long Chen's figure appeared, the people of the Bright Moon ancient clan suddenly felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Although their combat strength was not weak, they had seen how Long Chen fought with Han Xian before. This time, their core purpose in coming here was to use this formation inscriptions. Chapter 433. Meet again the 10 layers of soul-slaying array. Once one stepped into it, they would be bombarded by boundless power. Even if he didn't die in the first layer, he would be instantly enveloped by the second layer. There were a total of 10 layers, which was extremely terrifying. But now, Long Chun and the others were too vigilant. Although they had killed the leader, the others had only reached the outermost layer of the bewildering formation. They had not entered the killing formation at all. The most important thing was that Long Chun was still alive. Seeing that Long Chun was still alive, the people present instantly felt a chill down their spines. Although they had the advantage in numbers, when they thought of the many people from the Bright Moon ancient clan who had died in the previous 2 battles, they no longer had the will to fight. No one would have thought that the moment Long Chun revealed his true appearance, the people who were originally attacking them actually retreated in unison, frantically retreating. In the end, only 2 of the dozen or so people managed to escape with serious injuries. The rest of them had their bodies shattered and their souls captured. You guys wait here. The 10-fold soul-slaying formation is a rare treasure. Long Chun instructed the crowd, and his figure shuttled through the forest. After more than 2 hours, he finally reappeared. At this moment, there were a total of 10 formation flags in his hand. Every single one of them was simple and indescribable, and they revealed an aura that caused one's heart to palpitate. Although this array flag is about to be destroyed, it can still be used a few times. You can't blame me for what happened in the forbidden area of the Hao Yu ancient clan. Long Chun sneered as he looked at the array flag in his hand. After a short rest, everyone once again embarked on the journey to the forbidden area. Meanwhile, in the main hall of the Bright Moon ancient clan, the ground in front of the middle-aged patriarch cracked like a net. With a wave of his right hand, 10 jade tablets appeared before being crushed into powder. Failed again. This group of trash, even the 10-layer soul-slaying array was given to them, and they still failed. The middle-aged man's voice was like thunder, his chest rising and falling continuously, and his expression was extremely unsightly. The faces of the elders of the Bright Moon ancient clan below were ashen. Patriarch, you don't have to do this. This Long Chen's combat ability is extraordinary. If we fight to the death, I'm afraid only those at the peak of the Renwang realm can match him. It won't be easy to take him down in one fell swoop, an elder said in a deep voice. The clan master of the Bright Moon ancient clan snorted coldly and took a deep breath to forcefully calm the anger in his chest. Since the appearance of Long Chun, the Taoists and Renhuangs of the Hao Yu ancient clan had died one after another. This had already caused him to hold back his anger. Then what should we do? Long Chun has been opposing our Bright Moon ancient clan. If we don't kill him, how can our Bright Moon ancient clan establish itself in the waste domain? In the 2 battles, 1,500 Renhuangs of our clan died. Among them, about 500 were from our own clan. Now, our clan has become a joke in the waste region. Because of Long Chun, our vassal clans, as well as many 2- and 3-star ancient clans, have secretly turned to the other 3 clans. The Bright Moon ancient clan's clanmaster's words were filled with murderous intent. Seeing that none of the elders dared to speak, the sacrificial elder slowly opened his eyes and said in a deep voice, "Aren't Han Qing and the others about to come out of the forbidden area? Let them attack. Now that all the major ancient clans are watching, let the younger generation solve the problem as much as possible." As the sacrificial elder's voice fell, his eyes narrowed again. When the Bright Moon ancient clan master heard this, he did not speak for a long time. He seemed to be thinking about something. Then he asked the sacrificial elder. They had been sent to that place for 3 years. It was for this divine corpse secret realm. If we let them attack now, I'm afraid it's a little inappropriate. However, the sacrificial elder still had his eyes closed and did not speak again. After the failure of the ambush on Long Chun, the Bright Moon ancient clan seemed to have fallen into a period of peace. Long Chun and his group were also unimpeded. A few days later, they arrived at the Forbidden Area's passageway again. Looking at the spatial fluctuations on all sides of the Forbidden Area's passageway, Long Chun and Yi Halen's expressions were somewhat sorrowful. That day, they were forced into the underworld here and almost died there. Ao Sanxiong could not help but ask Long Chun, "Why do you have to enter the Forbidden Area of the Bright Moon ancient clan? With the clan's hatred for you, if they want to get rid of you in the Forbidden Area, I'm afraid your life will be in danger." Qing Xian and Yi Hailon both looked at Long Chun. They were clearly aware of the dangers involved. Long Chun smiled faintly and said, "Last time, they disregarded the ancient clan's treaty of alliance and sent their human sovereign realm elders to attack us. This time, I'd like to see if they can still do the same." As Long Chen's voice fell, he took the lead and rushed into the Forbidden Area's passageway. As soon as they set foot in, they instantly attracted the attention of several guardian elders outside the passageway. Many of them revealed a look of surprise after seeing the faces of Long Chun and the others. Back then, when Long Chun was driven into the netherworld, they were all present at the scene. Just as Long Chun and the others were about to move forward, 2 human sovereign realm guards of the ancient clan walked toward them. "Oh, I didn't expect all of you to survive. TSK, and this girl as well." The moment Long Chun, Sangxiong, and Yi Hailon saw these people, their eyes suddenly narrowed. This was not the first time they had met these people. They were from the Eagle clan who had attacked them that day. Long Chun still remembered the scene from that day. It was these 2 people. One of them, a human sovereign, had sneakily attacked them and severely injured Jian Shisan and Yi Hailon. Furthermore, he had used a despicable poison. If Long Chun had not entered the Tree God clan and seized the source of life, the 2 of them would have died by now. Long Chun sneered and said coldly, "The heavens are really helping us. I didn't expect to meet the 2 of you here." When the 2 human sovereigns heard Long Chun's words, they snorted coldly. Back then, the 2 of them had led people to besiege and kill Long Chun. In the end, they were scared off by the Dark Star Organization and the Alchemist Guild before they could even make a move. In the end, although they had sneakily attacked Long Chun and the others to avoid being punished, they were still demoted to guard the passage of the Forbidden Area for a year. This made them hold a grudge against Long Chun. Long Chun looked at the 2 of them. His expression changed, and a playful smile gradually appeared on his face. "Originally, I wanted to enter the Forbidden Area of the Haoyu ancient clan directly. Since I've met the 2 of you, it's not a bad idea to walk around the Forbidden Area of your clans." As Long Chun spoke, his right hand moved and threw out the 4 prohibition orders that he had asked for from Yunmei. When the 2 of them saw Long Chun's actions, their eyes were full of murderous intent. The human sovereign of the Eagle clan said in a deep voice, "That's great. I'd like to see if you can come out alive." However, he did not notice that not far away, the human sovereigns of the ancient clan, who had been transferred to guard the passage of the Forbidden Area a few days ago, were stunned. There was a hint of pity in their eyes. Chapter 434. Forbidden Area of the Bright Moon ancient clan. The news of Long Chun and the rest returning to the passageway of the Forbidden Area spread like wildfire among the various ancient clans. Long Chun's words about entering the Forbidden Area of the Bright Moon ancient clan also surprised everyone. On the other hand, the Falcon clan directly opened the door to the clan's Forbidden Area and let Long Chun and the other 3 walk in with a sneer. After Long Chun and the others went in, several Rinhuang guard of the ancient race could not help but walk up to the Rinhuang of the Falcon tribe and say, "How can you still laugh? Brother, you're really magnanimous. Do you know what Long Chen's name is in the wasteland? The Falcon clan member was stunned. He looked around and saw the pitiful and laughable looks on everyone's faces. His heart skipped a beat. He couldn't help but ask, so what? So what if he's powerful? Now that he's entered my clan's forbidden area, he can't do as he pleases. My clan's many Taoists and others won't let him do as he pleases. Pucci, a 2-star ancient clan Renhuang, could not help but laugh out loud. He had only entered this place a few days ago to guard the passageway to the Forbidden Land. Naturally, he was very familiar with the news from the outside world. After laughing for a while, he stared at the person from the Falcon clan and said with a smile, "This Long Chun fought against Han Xian half a month ago. Although he was suppressed in that battle, he did not lose in the end. He even helped Han Xian enter the demonic path and step into the half-saint realm. After that, Han Xian returned to the Bright Moon Ancient clan and killed many of the clan's disciples, causing a great uproar. You haven't heard of these things, right?" Plop. As soon as this person finished speaking, the Falcon clan member actually retreated several dozen steps in succession, and his face instantly became as pale as paper. His entire body trembled as he asked this person, "You're talking about Han Xian, the one who was trying to break through to the half-sage realm and had his life force continuously drain away?" Seeing that everyone nodded, the man's legs went soft, and he sat down on the ground. His body was already drenched in cold sweat. Han Xian was an outstanding talent among the previous generation of Taoists. He had even attempted to break through to the half-saint realm. If even he couldn't take down Long Chun, it was enough to show how terrifying Long Chun was now that Long Chun had entered the Falcon tribe's forbidden area. Wouldn't he be like a tiger in a flock of sheep? "Ha! What are you still sitting there for? Hurry up and send a voice transmission to your clansmen. Try your best to evacuate the Taoists in the forbidden area. Otherwise, I think I'll be lucky if even one of them can survive." Many guards who were not affiliated with the Bright Moon Ancient clan stared at this person with a playful look. How could this person dare to hesitate in the slightest? He hurriedly used the voice transmission talisman to send a message to the clan. After only a few hours, the light gate of the Falcon clan's forbidden area opened again. Everyone's gaze instantly landed on Long Chun, Yi Hailon, and the other three. However, when the guards of the Eagle clan saw the items in the hands of Long Chun and Ao Sangxiong, their faces turned red and they spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone's gaze immediately became strange. They saw that Long Chun and Ao Sangxiong were actually holding falcons that were enveloped in balls of origin energy. These falcons were covered in divine light, and their eyes were emitting red light. At first glance, one could tell that they were extraordinary. These are the offerings of the Falcon clan. If all of these items are taken out, I'm afraid that the clan will fall into a slump for the next 10 years. The corners of everyone's eyes could not help but twitch. They secretly thought that Long Chen's actions had really shaken the foundation of the Falcon clan. However, what Long Chun said next shocked everyone. They saw that a strange flame suddenly rushed out from Long Chen's right hand. In a flash, the aroma of meat spread throughout the forbidden area's passageway. The offerings of the Ying Falcon tribe had been roasted just like that. "Everyone, today I'll treat you to roast falcons." Long Chun sneered. With a move of his right hand, he threw the falcons in front of everyone. At the same time, the voice transmission talisman in the hands of the Falcon clan's human emperor could be heard by everyone. "Who did you let into our clan's forbidden area? All of our Path-Chosen's cultivations have been destroyed, and even the physical bodies of several guardian elders have been shattered. Stupid thing, what kind of combat power does Long Chen have? How could you let him into our clan's forbidden area? Why don't you go to hell? Even if you violate the covenant, you shouldn't have let him in even if you don't want your life." Long Chen's hoarse roars caused everyone to involuntarily feel a chill down their spines. This move of Long Chen's was truly ruthless. Many of the affiliated clans of the Bright Moon Ancient clan were also livid. However, they all remembered that sentence in their hearts. Even if you violate the covenant and lose your life, You shouldn't let this person enter our clan's forbidden area. The Falcon clan's human emperor stared at Long Chun with bloodshot eyes. He said sternly, "Back then, I should have killed you and the people behind you at all costs." As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed directly toward Long Chun. Streams of origin energy slashed toward Long Chun. He knew that after today's incident, even if he returned to his clan, death would await him. When Long Chun saw this scene and thought of the situation that day, he did not have the slightest bit of mercy in his heart. The long sword in his right hand slashed out with its scabbard. Divine light suddenly appeared, and the origins of the 5 elements gathered. In less than 10 moves, the person's physical body was shattered, and his spiritual soul was crushed. The Snow Beast clan's elder, who had been standing at the side, could not help but tremble. When he saw Long Chun's combat power, he no longer had a trace of hope in his heart. He regretted it. Why did he sneak attack Long Chun and the others with the Falcon clan's elder? Now it was too late. Plop! The Snow Beast clan's elder actually knelt in front of Long Chun, and then said to Long Chun with a face full of determination, "Today, no matter what, I won't let you enter our clan's forbidden area. We were wrong that day, but the 2 of them didn't die in the end. I've already returned my life to you." As the elder spoke, his body suddenly exploded, turning into a rain of blood. His spiritual soul was also shattered. Long Chun stared at the elder, snorted, and said coldly, "Let's forget about this matter. Today, I'm here for the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan." Everyone's heart trembled. They secretly thought that Long Chun was really going to enter the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan was completely different from the 2-star and 3-star Ancient Clans. Now, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was probably still waiting for Long Chun to enter their clan's forbidden area. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, everyone watched as Long Chun and the others walked toward the passage of the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Outside the passage of the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the elder who had ordered to open the netherworld was still standing. When he saw Long Chun, the corners of his mouth could not help but curl into a sneer. He said coldly, "You actually want to enter our clan's forbidden area? How ridiculous! You're really lucky to be able to escape from such a dangerous place like the netherworld." Chapter 435. Interethnic Cooperation. The elder of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan sneered. Although he had been guarding the passageway of the forbidden area, he had also heard the news that Long Chun had not died in the underworld. However, he did not expect Long Chun to come again and take the initiative to ask to enter the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. He was not the only one. Many people around him were also puzzled. Given the tense relationship between Long Chun and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, entering the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was simply asking for trouble. Long Chun was indifferent to the stares of the crowd. He then turned around and said to Yi Hailon, "You met with an accident the last time you went to the Nightshaw clan. You should go again this time. Although you have reached the level of human sovereign, there is still something you need here." Yi Hailon did not say a word. After a short moment of hesitation, he took the token from Long Chun. As for Ao, Sangqiong, and Qing Xian, he directly sent 2 divine thoughts to them and gave them some instructions. After doing this, Long Chun walked straight to the entrance of the Haoyu Ancient Clan's forbidden area. Ao Sangqiong frowned slightly and said in a low voice, "Be careful. If this clan violates the agreement again." Before he could finish speaking, a person appeared before everyone like a phantom. Surprisingly, it was the first elder of the worshipping sword clan. The Grand Elder interrupted Ao Sangqiong and took a deep look at the members of the worshipping sword clan before he said in a deep voice, "Today, my worshipping sword clan would like to see which clan dares to violate the agreement and attack the younger generation. Am I Alchemist Guild? Am I Dark Star?" In the blink of an eye, many Renhuangs of the various ancient clans with high status had gathered in the array formation of the forbidden area. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan and many other ancient clans gasped. They had never thought that Longchun would have the support of so many ancient clans. Moreover, the Alchemist Guild, the Dark Star Organization, and the Swordsman clan were all top forces in the Wasteland. The other 2 and 3-star ancient clans had most likely stepped forward because of these 3 forces. Ao Sanxiong could not help but be stunned when he saw this scene. This was especially true when one of Dark Star's upper echelons was among them. But seeing this, he felt a little more at ease. As long as no one from the older generation made a move, with Long Chen's strength, few people from the younger generation could be his match. Upon seeing Long Chun step into the forbidden area of the Haoyu ancient clan, the human emperor realm elder of the Haoyu ancient clan snorted coldly. Meanwhile, in the bright moon ancient clan, as soon as Long Chun stepped into the forbidden area, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan received the news from the transmission talisman. Not only did the people in the hall not have a trace of worry on their faces, they even revealed cold smiles on their faces. The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, who was in the lead, ordered in a deep voice, "Evacuate all of our clan members from the forbidden area. Then, activate all of the formations in the forbidden area and increase the difficulty to the highest level." As soon as the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan finished speaking, an elder immediately responded. Before he left, he turned back and asked, "Have all the 9 new moons been opened? If the moon god's essence is taken away by his clansmen, it will be troublesome. Open all of them. It is impossible for him to get the moon god's essence. Even if he passes all the stages, he will still die in the end. But if he dies under the power of the forbidden area, it will save Han Qing and the others the trouble. When the divine corpse realm opens, they will be more useful." Upon hearing the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's words, the person did not hesitate and walked out of the hall. The sacrificial elder coughed twice and said, "I didn't expect this lad to have the guts to enter the forbidden area of our clan. But he can make the Alchemist Guild, the Swordsman clan, and the Dark Star appear at the same time. He is really not simple." As soon as the sacrificial elder finished speaking, a gray-haired old man beside him was silent for a moment. Then, he said with some worry, "This person was previously involved with the Golden Lion clan. All of these ancient clans are related to this person. Will they join forces to attack our Bright Moon Ancient Clan?" As soon as he said this, the sacrificial elder sneered out of character. Even the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, who had always been steady, could not help but shake his head. The sacrificial elder replied in a deep voice, "Our clan has stood tall in the Bright Moon Ancient Clan for a long time. We have seen all kinds of storms and waves, but it is not without reason that we have survived until now. Even if the great clans join forces, so what? None of them will dare to really attack our Bright Moon Ancient Clan." The sacrificial elder's words revealed his strong confidence. The old man who said this seemed to feel that his words were inappropriate, so he did not say anything more. He only said indifferently, "I am thinking too much." Not long after, the elder who had just left returned to the hall and said in a deep voice, "The difficulty of the forbidden area has been raised to the highest level, but there are still many disciples and other Dao children who have entered our clan who have not yet left. I believe that after receiving the order, they will all be able to return within an hour." As the elder spoke, his right hand drew a huge oval ripple in the air. Inside the ripple was the scene in the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. At this moment, Long Chun had just stepped into the forbidden area. The forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was no different from the outside world. There were 9 new moons in the sky, and the entire space was shrouded in moonlight. The entire land was a cold white color, causing people to feel a sense of trepidation out of nowhere. Above the 5 new moons, there were 9 milky white light pillars that connected all directions. Seeing such a scene, Long Chun thought of the 9 Soldier Mountains in the North Region Divine Mountain. However, the 9 light pillar passages here were not only connecting passages, but there were also 9 checkpoints. Long Chun looked at least 3 of the light pillars and saw that there were already people who were challenging the checkpoints. When he spread out his divine thought, he saw that there were many disciples of various clans fighting with many monsters on the land in all directions. The monsters and formations on the ground here are of average strength. They should be targeting ordinary Tao children. The place I am looking for should be among the 9 new moons. Long Chun naturally knew that this trip to the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan would be difficult. However, he had to come on this trip. This was because if he wanted to completely destroy the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, he had to destroy the clan's secret passage that connected to the heavenly region. Otherwise, none of the ancient clans would dare to touch the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Long Chen's figure flew out, but before he reached the place where the passage to the new moons was connected, Long Chun stopped in his tracks. This was because he found that the disciples of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan were rushing toward the entrance of the forbidden area. You can only blame yourselves for being disciples of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. As Long Chun shouted, he rushed out in an instant. A Tao child of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, who had just competed with another disciple for victory, suddenly felt a chill in his abdomen. He, who was about to return to the clan, felt that all his strength had been sucked out. Chapter 436. Smash! The Bright Moon Ancient Clan gave the disciples of the various clans an hour to withdraw. However, at that moment, the many elders of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan who were watching the scene through the projection of the array formation in the great conference hall were all filled with murderous intent. In less than an hour, the cultivation of all the ordinary Taoists in the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had been crippled by Long Chun. Although these people could not be compared to against the Heaven Daozi, they were still considered the mainstays of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. But now, although these people were not dead, they were all crippled. Through the projection, everyone saw that Long Chun had already rushed towards one of the crescent moonlight pillars. From all directions, the other ancient clan members who had entered the Bright Moon Ancient Clan through the passageway of the Forbidden Grounds were all dumbfounded. Long Chun had crippled an ordinary Taoist of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan with a wave of his hand. Seeing this, many of the aboriginals followed closely behind Long Chun and walked towards the first pillar of moonlight. Who is this guy? He has such battle prowess. I wonder which clan he is from. This kind of battle prowess can be considered outstanding even among the ranks of the heaven-defying Tao children. If we follow behind him, we might be able to save a lot of time to reach the first new moon. That being said, didn't you all hear what those Bright Moon Ancient Clan's disciples said? The difficulty of the Forbidden Area's passageway has been raised to the highest level. Many people followed closely behind Long Chun, looking at the Luna Beast crystal core in their hands. They could not help but smile bitterly. Under normal circumstances, the more Luna Beast crystal cores one had, the better it would be to pass through the moonlight pillar. However, Long Chun did not have a single Luna Beast. He did not kill any Luna Beast here. In other words, Long Chun was about to step into the most difficult first light pillar. When Long Chun stepped into the light pillar, the people who were originally there also turned their heads. There was no lack of Taoists from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan among them. The expressions of the Taoists of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan changed drastically. They had clearly seen what Long Chun had done on the ground just now. Stepping into the light pillar, Long Chun suddenly saw the silhouettes of huge, human-shaped demonic beasts in front of him. These human-shaped demonic beasts transformed from illusory to real, which was very strange. The humanoid demonic beast was covered in white scales and emitted a milky white light. There was a crescent moon in between its eyebrows. Long Chen's figure suddenly moved forward, and the 5 elements origin energy around him rose and fell one after another. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the demonic beasts were blasted into smithereens the moment they pounced out. The disciples behind Long Chun hurriedly followed after seeing this scene, but their hearts were filled with shock. Although the first pillar of light was the easiest to pass through, they had never seen anyone of the younger generation pass through it so quickly. They had actually used origin energy to forcefully blast it open. After a mere 100 breaths, Long Chun stepped into the first new moon in the sky. Above the new moon, he saw a giant tree that seemed to be carved out of white jade. As the giant tree swayed, streaks of white brilliance spread out like a waterfall. As Long Chun approached, there were more than a dozen human-shaped demonic beasts that were more than 1,000 feet tall. Retreat quickly. It seems that the Bright Moon Ancient clan is serious this time. Such powerful demonic beasts have never appeared here before. This person has crippled all the Taoists of the Bright Moon Ancient clan. I'm afraid he has a grudge against the Bright Moon Ancient clan. If we continue to follow him, I'm afraid we'll be implicated. After the first pillar of light, such demonic beasts have appeared above the new moon. One can imagine the next 8 pillars. When the demonic beasts that were more than 1,000 feet tall appeared, everyone was shocked and stopped in their tracks. No one followed Long Chun and retreated far away. In the blink of an eye, Long Chun was the only one left on the new moon. His figure was instantly drowned by more than a dozen demonic beasts. The entire new moon shook incessantly. More than a dozen human-shaped demonic beasts moved like phantoms, and the 5 elements origin energy around Long Chun was torn apart. Strange flame beast, come out. However, following Long Chun's order, flames suddenly soared into the sky. The entire new moon was illuminated in a fiery red color, and a scorching aura spread out. Roar! A series of crackling sounds continuously rang out in the air. Demonic beasts were crushed into powder one after another. Long Chun looked at the jade tree swaying in the white moonlight and sneered. Then, the scabbard in his hand forcefully uprooted the tree from the ground. The towering jade tree was forcefully carried on his shoulders. The people below were so shocked that they could not close their mouths when they saw this scene. The few remaining people of the Bright Moon Ancient clan were even more shocked when they saw this scene. However, this was not the end. When Long Chun rushed towards the second pillar of light, a black flame shot out from his fingertip and turned the entire passage and New Moon land into a sea of fire. Long Chun carried the huge jade tree on his shoulder and arrived at the second pillar of light like a war god. This time, he did not rush into the pillar of light to face the numerous demonic beasts. Instead, he used the huge jade tree to smash the second new moon. Simple and violent. However, there was an unexpected harvest. The entire second pillar of light was forcefully broken by him. The second new moon in the sky also fell like a jade plate and heavily crashed into the ground. Rumble. A huge sound spread throughout the entire Bright Moon Ancient Clan Forbidden Land, and the ground trembled. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan Forbidden Land had been open for a long time, but no one had ever done such a thing. How was this breaking through? This was simply destroying the entire Forbidden Land. In the main hall of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, everyone, including the clan master, could not help but twitch their faces. Through the projection light screen, they watched Long Chun walk step by step to the smash moon plate and smash many things on it into pieces. This person is simply taking revenge on our Bright Moon Ancient Clan. By doing this, he will not be able to obtain anything. He is deliberately destroying. Should we directly enter the Forbidden Land from the clan and capture this person? If this continues, the Forbidden Land will be in a mess because of him. Everyone shouted angrily. However, they were stopped by the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's clan master with an ashen face. Currently, various factions outside the passage of the Forbidden Land were watching. Once they violated the alliance agreement and attacked Long Chun with their clan's older generation, not only would they not be able to kill Long Chun, but they would also be attacked by various factions. Let him cause trouble. I want to see how many more trials he can pass. Send an order to Hanqing to wake up. I want this person to stay in the Bright Moon Ancient Clan forever. Bright Moon Ancient Clan Master ordered coldly. Meanwhile, in the Bright Moon Ancient Clan Forbidden Land, Long Chun had already reached the 5th pillar of light. The moment he approached the pillar of light, divine light filled the sky and bombarded him. Chapter 4:37. power of the heavens within the light pillar, countless demonic beasts and mechanical beasts were densely packed. However, Longshan only attacked from the outside and did not step inside at all. Just as the elders of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had said, he had no intention of barging into the forbidden area. No matter how difficult the forbidden area was, he would not barge in personally, because what he wanted to do was completely destroy this place. Bloodline body appear. Following Long Chen's roar, his entire body actually soared into the air. Against the wind, he expanded and transformed into the body of the 5 elements Azure Dragon. Its huge body traveled between heaven and earth. When it moved, the 5 elements gathered, and the weather changed. Bang bang! Long Chen's huge tail whistled as it fell towards the moon and the light pillar in the sky. The array was instantly shattered, and the moon disk fell like a meteor. Bang bang bang! Long Chen's frenzied bombardment shattered countless arrays within the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Light pillars also began to crumble under his attacks. When the last pillar of light was shattered, the 9th new moon emitted boundless moonlight and forcibly blocked Long Chen's bloodline body. Swoosh! Swoosh! At the same time, figures appeared one after another. The 5 young men with the 6 new moon wheels behind them were suspended in the air by the moonlight. Long Chen transformed into a huge dragon. His eyes were filled with coldness as he looked at the few people. This is the aura of the heavenly region. Long Chen's body moved again and turned into his human form. His eyes narrowed slightly. This was the purpose of his trip. He wanted to seal the Heaven Domain passage. The moonlight behind the 5 youths of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan slowly dissipated as they landed 100 meters in front of Long Chen. The leader of the group was a disciple of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. He had green hair and looked extremely sinister. Behind him were 6 crescent moons. You are very good. Han Qing looked at the forbidden land of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan that had almost turned into ruins. Her voice was filled with murderous intent. Long Chen snorted coldly. He was too lazy to argue with the 5 of them, and immediately rushed towards Han Qing. Han Qing's eyes narrowed as he grabbed at the air with his right hand. Rays of moonlight formed a white bone sword. Rumble. After the 2 exchanged blows, they were both sent flying 1,000 meters away. Just as the other 4 were about to charge forward, Han Qing shouted, "You guys stay by the side and watch. Let me see how much my battle prowess has improved over the past few years." Holy technique, Frost Moon. As Han Qing rushed out, a series of attacks were launched at Long Chen. Long Chen could not help but sneer. If the 5 of them had attacked him at the same time, he would have been in a lot of trouble. However, things were much simpler now. Although Long Chen's sword was unable to be unsheathed, it was extremely tough. With his cultivation in the way of the sword, he was able to cast saint techniques with ease. He was evenly matched with Han Qing. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged hundreds of blows. The entire ground had long been destroyed by their attacks. Han Qing's eyes gradually turned solemn. He stared at Long Chen and said, "Such exquisite attainments in the way of the sword. Your battle prowess far exceeds those of the same level. I've underestimated you." As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qing crossed his hands in the air and said coldly, "It's a pity that you can't win today. Heavenly Domain Power, Luminous Moon Shadow." Following Han Qing's roar, rays of moonlight wrapped around his entire body as if they were solid. Luminous Moon Sky Annihilation. As he clenched his hands in the air toward Long Chen, countless crescent moons appeared out of thin air in all directions. Each of them turned from illusory to solid. The ground turned into powder like tofu. At this moment, the people who had not left had already fled in all directions. Those who came into contact with the crescent moons instantly disintegrated. Long Chen's expression suddenly changed. He couldn't touch this move no matter what. Although this move was still an ordinary saint technique, it contained the power of the heavenly domain. The heavenly domain power was different from the power in the waste realm. Once touched, it would be extremely troublesome. The slightest carelessness could even cause one's physical body to be smashed into pieces. Long Chun leaped up. Seeing that the attack was about to hit him, he suddenly shouted, "Celestial technique, Nirvana sword." Buzz! Long Chen's long sword was surrounded by the 5 elemental origins. As it circulated, it turned into rays of black light that were as black as ink. Wherever this ray of black light passed, the space trembled. Break! Swoosh! 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 The rays of black light rushed out in an instant and shattered the crescent moons in all directions. This person is using a celestial technique with the cultivation of a human sovereign. How did he do it? When did such a freakish Taoist appear in the Waste Realm? This combat prowess is probably enough to fight a late-stage human sovereign. It's terrifying. Countless people were inexplicably horrified. Even the people in the main hall of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan could not help but be shocked. An overwhelming sense of destruction instantly enveloped Han Qing. The black rays of Nirvana sword from all directions were about to devour him. Han Qing's expression suddenly changed. He roared, "What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?" As soon as his voice fell, the 4 people not far behind him had already made their moves at the same time. They stood on all 4 sides of him. Countless crescent moons blocked Long Chen's celestial technique. Even so, the 5 of them were blasted tens of thousands of meters away. They were forcefully blasted into the ground. Long Chun frowned suddenly, and his expression turned gloomy. Although the 5 of them only had the cultivation of a late-stage human sovereign, they possessed the heavenly domain power. Their combat prowess was far beyond that of the people in the Waste Realm. They had actually blocked his celestial technique with their combined strength. Seeing the moonlight shooting out from the ground, Long Chun snorted coldly and retreated quickly. As Long Chun retreated, dozens of origin forces bombarded him from behind. They stopped him in his tracks. He turned around and looked. They turned out to be the disciples of the Haoyue ancient clan who had not retreated from the light pillars. At this moment, they saw that Long Chun intended to retreat. They wanted to stop him and help Han Qing and the others. Bang! This attack was effective. The next moment, a ray of moonlight bombarded Long Chen's back. It blasted him thousands of meters away. Unfortunately, a ray of sword light shot out from Long Chen's right hand and instantly killed all the people of the Haoyue ancient clan who attacked him. These people were all Taoists. With a thought, Long Chen's bloodline power suddenly surged into his body. The 5 elements Azure Dragon bloodline, which had already reached perfection, finally began to loosen up. Han Qing and the other 4 did not notice Long Chen's strange movements at all. They slowly walked toward Long Chun. Han Qing, who was in the lead, said coldly, "Your combat prowess is really beyond my expectations. But this is the end." As Han Qing's voice fell, he approached Long Chun. His whole body emitted an aura that caused the space to crack. This was the aura of the heavenly domain. Chapter 438. Moon God's Essence. The 5 people's cultivation did not change, but their combat power soared. At this moment, Han Qing and the other 4 seemed to have merged into one. Behind them, dozens of moons were beating like hearts. They finally noticed Long Chen's abnormality. The aura around Long Chun began to become illusory, as if he was about to disappear into thin air. Han Qing and the others frowned. Without any hesitation, they attacked Long Chun. Sacred technique, Sky Moon Rampage. The 5 of them shouted in unison. Waves of aura that did not belong to the waste domain rushed out from their bodies, shattering the space within a dozen meters. Around them, nearly 100 moons cut through the space and fell toward Long Chun. Inside the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, many elders heaved a sigh of relief when they saw this scene. Han Qing and the other 4 were the strongest of the younger generation that they had cultivated. Their purpose was to open the divine corpse realm. However, no one expected that Long Chun would force them to use the power of the heavenly domain. Boom, boom, boom. The forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, with Long Chun as the center, was instantly riddled with holes. The ground within a radius of 10,000 meters collapsed by 100 meters. Waves of aura from the heavenly domain spread out, causing space ripples to fill the sky. The foreign Taoists were still hurriedly fleeing tens of thousands of meters away. However, anyone who came into contact with the aura of the heavenly domain would immediately swell up before their bodies collapsed. It was as if their bodies could not withstand this kind of aura at all. Looking at this terrifying scene, Han Qing and the other four could not help but gasp. After receiving the order, they originally thought that it would be easy to deal with this. However, they had to use nearly half of the heavenly domain's aura, and the 5 of them had to attack together. This person was really too terrifying. The 5 of them, since that Long Chin's aura had completely disappeared, so they turned around to leave. However, just as they took a few steps, the sound of boulders rolling came from behind them. They turned around to look. They saw the head of a giant beast that seemed real and illusory at the same time, rushing out from the rubble. Its huge body soared into the sky. The giant beast instantly covered the entire sky. They were clearly in the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, but the sun, moon, and stars were alternating in the sky. When the mountains collapsed, the rivers and lakes flowed endlessly. On the gigantic dragon's body, countless bolts of lightning seemed real and illusory at the same time. Rain fell from the sky, but it did not fall to the ground. Han Qing and the others subconsciously took a few steps back as they stared at the sky. The 5th avatar of the Heavenly Dragon bloodline, the Mirage Clam Dragon. What kind of bloodline is this? Why have we never seen it before? Why is the blood in my body trembling uncontrollably? I actually have the urge to kneel on the ground. This person's bloodline grade is probably far higher than my Bright Moon Ancient Clan's. Although his appearance is similar to the body he just manifested, his aura is completely different. Just how many trump cards does this person have? Han Qing and the others cried out involuntarily. Their faces were somewhat pale, and the pressure from the bloodline made them feel as if a fishbone was stuck in their throats. Meanwhile, in the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the sacrificial elder stared at the projection of Long Chen's sea serpent body and frowned. After a long while, he suddenly turned pale with fright and stood up. This is the bloodline from ancient times. His voice trembled. The entire Bright Moon Ancient Clan had never seen him lose his composure like this. With a move of his right hand, a piece of broken animal skin appeared in front of everyone. The fantasy sea serpent body was engraved on it. Quick, go to the forbidden area of my clan. Whether Han Qing and the others are dead or alive, we must not let this person leave our clan alive. The sacrificial elder's eyes were like torches as he stared at the pattern on the animal skin with murderous intent. On the other side, Han Qing and the others were already covered in cold sweat. They were shocked to find that the heavenly domain aura seemed to have hit a barrier and was blocked by Long Chen's body. Long Chen's cold eyes made them feel an unprecedented fear. Han Qing and the others finally retreated slowly. Without the support of the heavenly domain, they were just Taoists at the middle stage of the human sovereign realm. They had no chance of winning against Long Chun. Unfortunately, Long Chun did not seem to want to give them a chance to leave. A dragon's roar came from his mouth, but everyone could hear it clearly. Bloodline magic, fantasy blood kill. Buzz. As soon as Long Chen's voice fell, the entire forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan turned into a blood-red color in an instant. The surrounding scenery turned into mountains, rivers, the sun, and the moon. However, the mountains and rocks were made of blood, and the water was blood-red. Even the sun and the moon had turbulent blood flowing out. Everyone was enveloped in an instant, and the entire Bright Moon Ancient Clan was in a state of bloodbath. No. Han Qing and the others knelt on the ground with a plop, as if they were suffering unprecedented pain. Gradually, their flesh and blood began to blend with the blood around them, turning from real to illusory. In just a few breaths, They completely disappeared from this world. Even their divine souls did not have time to appear. Many foreign clan disciples collapsed on the ground, all of them convulsing. At that moment, they seemed to be in another space. The countless scenes in front of them were real and illusory. They saw with their own eyes that Han Qing and the others had shattered themselves with their own strength. Everyone looked at Long Chun in awe. The entire forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was terrifyingly quiet. No one dared to raise the sound of their breathing. Long Chen's figure moved, and he instantly jumped down from the sky. When he appeared again, he had already landed on the last moon in his human form. At this moment, his face was as pale as paper. With his current cultivation, using the celestial technique and the bloodline magic power of the sea serpent dragon celestial body that he had just condensed was extremely taxing on him. Just as I expected, when the sea serpent dragon celestial body was condensed, my cultivation also reached the 3rd level of the human sovereign realm. Long Chun quickly stabilized the realm that he had just broken through, and his complexion gradually improved. At the same time, his divine telekinesis instantly scanned every inch of the 9th new moon. However, although he sensed the rich aura of the heavenly domain, he still did not find the passage that connected to the heavenly domain. However, he found another item, the Moon God Essence. The Moon God Essence was like a palm-sized shadow of a new moon that rose and fell between the 9th new moon. This item would only appear when the forbidden area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was completely opened. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for foreign clans to obtain this item. Seeing the Moon God Essence, Long Chun raised his eyebrows. It seemed that this item was also very important to him, so he quickly put it away. However, after searching for a while, he still could not find the passage that connected to the heavenly domain. This shouldn't be. The entire 9th moon is filled with the rich aura of the heavenly domain. The passage to the heavenly domain should be here. Long Chun frowned. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.